Eagles. Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Football Friday edition of Birds 365, just 13 days away from the 2026 start of the NFL Draft. It is also Masters Weekend, everybody. I dropped on the Amen Corner hat for Masters Friday. I have not watched much golf this year, but I will tune in for the weekend golf on Masters. Johnny Mack, how you doing on this Football Friday, my friend?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I didn't know you were going to start with the Masters, but freaking Jason Kelce's down at the Masters. I'm
Yeah,
like,
I saw that.
What is, is there anybody more overexposed? Maybe me, but than Jason Kelce, because I talk about the Eagles.
John, you don't come close, man.
Jason, no, I mean, well, he does everything. I'm joking, obviously.
No, I know. You're right. He is everywhere, man. It's almost he's on ESPN, so you know what I mean. They cover.
My God, it's like they paid him so much money and figured out, oh shit, football games only go from, September to February. We got to figure out something else. So anyway, Jason Kelce leaked down at the Masters, so already is so. That should, but it's always fun. The Masters is fun.
Well, I think a lot of people were sick of Kelce for a second. I think when he retired, just because he was everywhere, like you just said. But I do think now that some of the dust has settled, I think he does a pretty good job. And I was one of the people
very entertaining guy.
Jason's everywhere, but I think he does a pretty good job. He handles all the different situations, the sports, the TV spots that ESPN's asking him to go into. I think he handles it pretty well. Does a pretty good job.
Yeah, naturally entertaining guy. So,
yeah, right.
I mean, that's half of the battle, and he's gotten more honest talking about the Eagles locally. I find it ironic. He admitted after the fact, the tush push kind of hurt us.
Yeah,
but I digress. I don't want to get into tush push conversation, but yeah, he's tremendously entertaining guy. It doesn't surprise me at all that he's become a superstar in that realm.
John, 13 days out here from the NFL Draft. We're going to talk to Rick Serritella here in a couple minutes in the morning, in the first hour here of the program. We will get deep into the NFL Draft today. We will talk about plenty of other things. We will wrap up the conversation. I heard John pre-show and I were talking. John ready to take somebody to the woodshed over it.
Well, because to me, it's like, people are so focused on one person in this story. They don't look at the whole ecosystem of how it developed. And it's like, I get this guy pulling tweets. And I'm like, all right, I'm sick of this shit. So I'm just going to blow this guy up because, ironically, Diana wasn't the first person to report AJ was unhappy. That was the local reporters, number one. And that goes back way before any trade scenarios start to develop. That's number one. Number two, the thought is that she's, creating some kind of leverage for the Patriots, which is insulting to Howie Roseman, the most, entrenched general manager in the sports. But beyond that, and obviously Eagles fans love Howie Roseman, rightfully so. That's absurd on its surface. But, the idea that she's running this ship, and it's like, look, I know from covering this story, the original about the narrative that the Patriots were pushing out there that the Eagles were asking too much. First of all, again, Thomas Dimitroff, Howie's friend, will tell you, Howie's good friend, will tell you how he always asks for too much. That's his reputation. That's where he starts. That should be a positive thing. That's number one. But even if you get by that, it was a Boston Herald story from Andrew Callahan and Doug Kyed who came up with the unserious, because I remember the word unserious. And that's where everybody started confirming. That was February 28th. And he got these knuckleheads with tweets on March 6th. See what Diana's doing on March? It was already done. Jimmy Sexton was running around Indianapolis. Everybody confirmed it. Nobody's been more plugged into this story than Albert Breer. Albert Breer got the list of teams. He's also a Boston guy, by the way. This is all bullshit. Now, her specifically, was she unprofessional? Yes. Bare minimum. Obviously, I'm not even getting into, are they having an affair yet? The TMZ stuff.
Right.
Is how she's gathering information unprofessional. Yes. I said it the same. I said it with Jay. I said it with Jordan. Yeah, that's what you get rewarded for. That's why people do it. So that's the world we live in. But as far as this particular story, she's running it. Never has been.
But she's been a big part of it, John. And as a lead NFL reporter, for a massive entity, there does have to be a bigger burden for her to hold up to the standards of the job. Even if you call her an information broker,
even if standards unprofessional.
Yeah, no, I know you did. I'm not pushing. I'm not trying to be combative with you. I'm just, I do think that it's a little bit worse than, in my eyes, it's a little bit worse than you've made it out.
I'm specifically talking about the people that are saying this created leverage for the Patriots and she's trying to get there. First of all, as I said, it's incredibly insulting to Howie Roseman for like he gives a shit.
Well, let me ask you this here, because this example got asked to me yesterday. Does Mel Kiper and the way he covers the draft or covers a late round player have the ability to impact where that player might be drafted or what teams might think about that player going into the draft process? Or, it's not to say that he's in the draft room making a decision for a general manager, but, do some of the things that you've heard stories of agents, maybe go to Mel Kiper, pay him a little bit, or whatever the case may be. I'm not accusing him because I don't know, but of speaking good about a player or a client or whatever.
I heard that about Dan talking about. You just heard about Dan Orlovsky talking about Ty Simpson being the best quarterback, and everybody. Right. Well, he's represented by CAA, and Ty Simpson's represented. So you already hear that stuff. Which again, these media people have become stars, so that's a problem in its own right.
Yeah.
Why is Dan Orlovsky? He's a former player, so that part of it. But why is Dan Orlovsky getting repped by the same agency as NFL players? That's just the reality of the landscape, unfortunately, and that's why it's turned into the shithole that it was. I can tell. Well. There's 32 general managers and some of them suck. I can tell you that the best general managers aren't listening to Mel Kiper. I can tell you that. But can I tell you the last one isn't? No. It might be somebody else. There was knocks on Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah in Minnesota. He would go in and rely on Pro Football Focus college rankings. And if that's the case, and I don't know if it's the case.
Yeah, right.
But he was a shitty general manager and he got fired. And I love the guy, but he was a bad general manager. But the good ones, like Howie, no fucking way does Mel Kiper have anything to do with it.
I'm just saying from a macro. I agree that Howie can easily tune it out and it can have no impact. I do agree with that. But I do think the guy who sent the tweet to us where he points out that Diana's using these adjectives around that is not reporting to me. That's not unbiased reporting. I mean, by saying,
let me, and I don't want to pick on this guy, so I'm not going to mention his name. The Eagles, the one tweet was the Eagles are holding firm on, this is Diana's tweet, on their steep asking price for AJ Brown. Now, he had a problem with steep. Well, that stems from the unserious report that the Patriots writers, and Andrew Callahan's a columnist, Doug covers the team. That stems all from that. As far as the Chargers and the Rams, and the Rams stuff popped up in Indianapolis, and that came from his agent. And the list came from his agent, and also Albert Breer was the one who got that. So again, we'd have to spend 6 hours to talk about media literacy. Then the other problem, which I don't know where it came came from because it's not a tweet, but I'll take his word for it. And this is Diana. League source believed the Eagles were trying to get multiple teams competing for Brown before free agency began, but with an incredibly high asking price. Okay. Yeah, Howie tries to leverage teams. He's a good fucking general manager. That's common sense. And if he isn't doing that, he isn't doing his job.
Yeah, that's true.
This is all. And that's what I said. This is a guy with a GPS program where he wants to go. What do I say all the time? If you program that fucking thing, you're getting to your destination, no matter how many detours you have to take. True.
Yeah, but couldn't you say, just to play devil's advocate, John McMullen, that your GPS is also programmed?
No, because I'm the one giving you the facts of who broke the various stories. That February 28th, it was Callahan and Kayed. February 28th.
Yeah, but she was talking about it last year too.
No, the unhappiness. I'm talking about the actual asking price of the Eagles. That was February 28th.
Yeah, the unserious.
That stemmed from Indianapolis.
Gotcha.
Now the stuff again. She was talking. That came from the local reporters in Philadelphia. I won't give myself credit. Give credit whoever you want to give credit to. McLean, Berman. Yada, yada, yada. How many times have we talked about AJ being unhappy? How many fucking times on this show?
Yeah, goes back to the Super Bowl year when he made the post, remember, after the Super Bowl, and everyone's like, yeah, I mean, it's
so people have it backwards. Then the national people go in, oh, all these guys are saying he's unhappy. Let's go check into it. Now, again, how she got her information and the position she put herself in, be very clear in what I've said consistently, and Zander can back me up here. I've said it's unfucking professional. I'm not defending that, but this bullshit that she's running the story and going to affect what the Eagles get back for again, number one, more than anything else, incredibly insulting to Howie Roseman. Incredibly insulting, but it's just absolute bullshit. She does not have that kind of power.
Fair enough. Good stuff. We got Rick Serritella, John. We're going to turn the page, go NFL draft heavy today. Speaking of it, we have one quick chat we'll get to before we get to Rick. Here's Wild Bear. Wild Bear, good to see you. Thanks for being a member. She says this might be a cheap question, but who are you excited to see potentially get drafted? Like any kids coming up that could be the next Brady. I don't know. You're projecting big.
Well, I can say right off the bat, you're not getting the next Tom Brady. Tom.
No, you don't think Mendoza is the next Tom Brady?
You're not getting. But that brings. I'm glad because I want to ask Rick. I haven't gotten to this, and I want to ask Rick what he thinks about the quarterback position. From the standpoint, and can we bring him up? Is Rick?
Yep, let's introduce Rick Serritella right now. You guys can follow him on X at Rick Serritella. He is the number one Eagles NFL draft guy. You can get the NFL Draft Bible. Rick, how you doing on this Football Friday, my friend? It's great to see you.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. I got the keys in the ignition, the engine revved up, ready to go. Appreciating the early morning fire that Mac is bringing, and just ready to race to the draft.
Yeah, it's almost it's supposed to get nice soon. We're going to get those Rick Serritella updates from the beach.
Yes, they're coming. The boardwalk
we're going to get them.
Coming.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to that. So since we got that comment bringing up the quarterback position, I'm interested from the standpoint, obviously the Eagles always like to draft a quarterback, most likely on day 3, the developmental guy to fuel the quarterback factory. But to me, Rick, it's a little bit different this year from the standpoint they're changing. Every indication is they're changing offensive schemes, and they want to go to a Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay-like offense. And my question to you is not about 2026, because Jalen Hurts is going to be the quarterback, but if things don't go well, is there a guy on day 3 of this draft that fits that scheme, that fits that type of scheme that you say, oh, that's a Kyle Shanahan quarterback?
Yeah. So, well, on day 3, I think,
you have to develop, obviously.
Yeah. But. Well, I think that Garrett Nussmeier would be the guy, and I don't know if he makes it to day 3 or not, but when you talk about a guy who can make all the throws, I thought he worked the short to intermediate parts of the field very well this year. Not as much deep ball downfield stuff as 2 years ago, and I think a lot of that played into the injuries. But when you're talking about a very cerebral quarterback who has played in that style of system, has multiple years of starting experience, is the son of an NFL offensive coordinator, and played injured. I mean, he suffered a patella and a torso injury in August and played through the entire season with that. So I do think you have to factor that into the equation, and that would be the guy I think that has the upside to start in the NFL. And I think, I'll throw out one really deep late sleeper that I'm high on is JAKIB Clark from Missouri State. And I had a chance to see him down at the American Bowl. And this guy he's a traditional pocket passer, not much mobility, prototypical size at 6'4", so almost 6'5", 220 pounds. And if you watch the American Bowl, he came in and led the team down this entire field march for the game-winning touchdown. And, this guy really flashed some starter caliber traits. I mean, the velocity, the decision-making, obviously at a smaller school. And I think that is where you get the developmental tag, where you maybe just stash him on the practice squad for a year or two and see if he develops. But JAKIB Clark from Missouri State, I think, is worth a dart throw in the late rounds.
Yeah, could see that. Rick, good stuff there with the quarterbacks. Always late hype in the quarterbacks. We will say, do you expect Ty Simpson to fall in that first round?
I do. It's a supply and demand league. A lot of teams need a quarterback, and then you also have the 5th-year option under control if you do take him in the first round. And I think, you're trying to find a franchise signal caller. And I think Ty Simpson, while not as consistent body of work as compared to Fernando Mendoza, the first half of the season, a lot of people felt like Ty Simpson was QB1. And so he flashes that potential. There's a little bit with the inconsistency there that I think crept up on him in the middle of the year. But I think the NFL will be higher on Ty Simpson than people realize. And I go back to another 1-year starter back in the day that people really didn't expect to go as high as he did. And Mark Sanchez was a 1-year starter out of USC. The Jets needed a quarterback. And listen, whatever you want to say in terms of bust or not, he got him to 2 AFC championship games. So I think you can win with Ty Simpson. I don't see him as an elite signal caller, but you got the New Orleans Saints all giddy about Tyler Shuck as their quarterback going into the year. And I think Ty Simpson is light years above him in terms of a prospect.
Wow. Rick, talk to me about wide receiver. All right. The talk is getting louder in Philadelphia on wide receiver. I'm taking a look at your big board here of wide receivers. I read your excerpt. I thought was excellent. I thought you had an interesting piece on Carnell Tate, who's been kind of talked about as a blue chip prospect. If he projects in the slot, is there any concern there? But where's the value here for the Birds, Rick? They're at 23 overall. Some think it's possible they go first round wide receiver. Something John and I have talked about consistently throughout this draft process is, does it make sense to use that pick on a receiver when there's so much value potentially to be had there in rounds 2 and 3? How big's the drop off, when you get into those later rounds, or even just round 2 and 3 at receiver? And what prospects stick out to you as a good fit for the Eagles?
Yeah, well, I think there's really, really deep depth in this year's wide receiver class, and I would personally hold off. Now, I do think that you're talking about Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, the first 2 wide receivers off the board. I do think they maybe slide a little bit later than we anticipate, just because I expect 6 or 7 offensive tackles in round 1. And I think the tackles are going to get pushed up the board. I think the edge rushers are going to get pushed up off the board. And I think that causes some of the wide receivers to slide a little bit. Now, where it becomes interesting is Jordan Tyson from Arizona State, who I think is going to be doing a private workout a week from today. He's had this hamstring injury now lingering for almost 4 months. Didn't compete at the combine. wasn't able to perform at the Sun Devils Pro Day. He'll have a private workout. My issue here is you go back to his high school days, and this guy's been injured every single year. And so, like, that gives me a little bit uneasiness in terms of investing a first-round pick in a player such as a Jordan Tyson. And you could state the same argument for Chris Bell, as much as we've talked about him, and I like him out of Louisville, and I think he might possibly be the best receiver again coming off that ACL. The Eagles are built to win now. I don't think they have the patience to really rely on a rookie who may not be able to contribute fully in year one. So when you wait and see who slides to you on that second day, I mean, Zachariah Branch is a guy that is just a jitterbug, so elusive. You know, I think he creates after the catch. He's also one of the fastest players, and I think he would slide into the slot role, as would a Jeremy Bernard out of Alabama, who can beat you deep. He can beat you underneath. He can line up in the backfield. He takes end arounds and bubble screens and converts them into first downs. Like Jeremy Bernard might actually be viewed as a wide receiver in other years, considering the depth of this class. And how about Jacoby Lane? He won a big body boundary outside wide receiver, 6'4", 200 pounds, 4.47 speed. I mean, this guy has so much potential and upside. He's actually a little bit frustrating to watch just in terms of his ball tracking ability, because he makes the one-handed acrobatic highlight reel catch look easy. And then you see him kind of get lost under the lights sometimes tracking that ball. And you just
see, like, that makes me nervous.
Yeah. I mean, like that. You know, but I think that that's something that can be coached up a little bit. And I think Jacoby Lane has tremendous upside. And then Dejon Stribling from Ole Miss is a guy I think that's getting a lot of love leading up to the draft. He was actually, if not the highest rated receiver, one of the highest rated Blesto receivers going back to the spring rankings. And I think teams value his size at 6'2". Where'd he go? 207 pounds. He ran a 4.38 40. I think this is a guy who could come in, compete for a starting job. If not, he's going to be an adequate wide receiver 3. And then you have a guy like Ted Hurst, who everybody's trying to figure out.
Everybody's talking about Ted Hurst.
A lot of people really like Ted Hurst. Yeah.
And if it wasn't for the label on the helmet, I mean,
Georgia
you might be talking about him on day one, right? And
don't scout the helmet. Don't scout the
helmet.
helmet.
Very valuable lesson to be learned here. So again, 6'4", 208, ran a 4.42, and had himself a fantastic week down there in Mobile. So like when you look at the depth at wide receiver, I don't think they need to. It'd almost be a panic move to take wide receiver in round 1, because there's going to be wide outs on the come around on day 2 for sure.
What do you think? You mentioned some of the bigger receivers, Denzel Boston. A lot of people like to do the whole connection thing. So Jed Fish is the coach out at Washington. You know, him and Howie are thick as thieves. They were college roommates. You know, he's going to get the best information humanly possible. I always say that too, Rick. That can go two ways. You know, you can get good information. You can get, hey, your friend saying, yeah, don't take this guy at 23. It can go both ways. So just as a player, what do you think of Denzel Boston? Because to me, he looks like a contested catch guy. I like guys who can separate.
Yeah, he's more of a possession guy. He's not going to be ultra explosive or create a lot of separation. He also did not elect to run a 40-yard dash, so we don't know what his verified speed is. But I mean, again, another one of these big bodies, 6'3.5", 212 pounds, who can win and just body you up. I think the only issue there is you probably have to use a first-round pick on Boston. I think he's in that back end of the first-round conversation. And with that being said, I mean, if A.J. Brown is still on the roster, I mean, you're penciling in Boston as your wide receiver 3. And I don't know if that's really going to be a big enough boost for the Eagles to really pull the trigger there. Now, if they do deal A.J. Brown come draft day, I think that changes the dynamics and the needs entirely. But I think the Eagles want to try and find a way to make it work with AJ and have him on the roster. And, you know, you really can't replace a guy like that. So I think they're going to try to smooth things over, but we'll see how that unfolds.
Yeah, I look at a team like the Bucs, as who I've been referencing, you know, Rick, who drafted Mecca Buka last year in round 1. and obviously kept Mike and Chris Godwin, now, and they were better positioned when Mike left. So if in theory, if they make it work with AJ this year, maybe he's got 1 year left in Philly, boom, now you're more positioned. I still like him drafting a receiver. And to me, that doesn't mean they guaranteed trade him, but obviously it depends, I guess, how high they go that route. Rick, something I've been high on, or something I've been wanting this draft process is, I don't want to fall for the skill guys. I know they're enticing. I know the jerseys are fun to buy. I know the Eagles have been one of the better football teams of the 21st century on the premise of build the trenches. Build the trenches. They had a bad year in the trenches last year on the offensive line. I am high on drafting offensive linemen early and often this year. If they took 2, it wouldn't bother me one iota. You mentioned 6 tackles might go in round 1 here. That leaves the Eagles in a tough spot. Do you think they'd have to move up to get their guy, or will there be a guy there with some value left at 23 or maybe even round 2 or 3?
I think so. I think one of them might slide to the Eagles. However, again, because these guys are going to get bumped up the board, are you overreaching a little bit at that point? I think if you want to tackle, you may have to do that at the back end of the first round. Malagoa, right now, I have him slated to go number 3. I think Monroe Freeling will come off the board after that. You got the 2 Utah kids and Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu who figure in the first round equation. And then I think a guy like a Caden Proctor from Alabama or Max Ironhocker from Arizona State, you're hoping that one of those 2 guys fall to you. And I think Proctor's the better fit because he can start off at guard, eventually transition out to tackle, whereas Ironhocker, I believe, is really more suited as a plug-and-play right tackle. He came over from Nigeria, I believe, at the age of 13. His high school team didn't even offer a football team. So here's a guy that's really only played several years of organized football, but I just love the upside. I love the tenaciousness, the feistiness that he brings. And, that's 6 tackles right there, which possibly could all be off the board when the Eagles roll around. And I think then you're looking at a guy such as a Blake Miller from Clemson, who I don't really deem as a first-round talent, but I think he could find his way there because he has the prototypical size. He's got a great foundational base, multiple years of starting at the Power 4 level.
A lot of games.
And he's an adequate athlete. So, he's not going to hurt you. He's not going to be an all-pro or Pro Bowl type of talent, but he projects as a solid starter. So I think there's your 7 potential offensive tackles in the first round. And for whatever it's worth, I think the Penn State guard, Ione Vega, is better than all of them.
So do I. He's my number 1 offensive line. I think he's phenomenal. I'll take him. I don't care if I don't think he's fallen to 23, but typically the Eagles don't want to use that kind of draft capital on a guard, but I think that kid's so good. I think he's one of the safest picks of the draft too. He's going to be a big time player. So and with all the issues with Landon Dickerson, you don't know how long he's going to play. I think it would be a very smart pick. But to continue on the tackle tier, I want to give you 5 names. Now, I'm giving you these 5 names because they've all had 30 visits. Okay. They're not first rounders. And because Lane's going to be here, Lane Johnson's going to be here. So I want your upside of these 5, who could be the best right tackle. If you develop them right, who could be the best right tackle? You got Drew Shelton from Penn State, Isaiah World from Oregon, Jude Bowery from Boston College, Markel Bell from Miami, and Travis Burke from Memphis. All players the Eagles have had or will have in for 30 visits.
Yeah, Burke has gotten a lot of steam lately, although he does have some injury history in his past that might concern me a little bit. I think Markel Bell really fits the Eagles just from a DNA standpoint. He's one of the biggest players in the draft, and for him to have those kind of movement skills, I think he's definitely a right tackle candidate that could compete immediately. But for the Eagles' purposes, I think that would be kind of a swingman tackle, developmental into an eventual starter. Isaiah World out of Oregon had all the love in the world leading into the season. We didn't get to see him too much because of the injury, but to me, he's a little bit too grabby, a little bit too handsy. I think he had 16 penalties 2 years ago, which definitely was a concern for me. Yeah, so I definitely have my concerns with World just from a discipline standpoint, and then obviously coming off of the injury. Drew Shelton, I mean, this guy, I don't know why he doesn't get talked about more. I think he's a very solid, low floor type of prospect. And again, you go back to the Blesto and the national grades, Drew Shelton was thought of as one of the premier offensive tackle prospects. And I think this guy is going to be a starter at the next level. He's probably my favorite prospect who you rattled off. I think there was Jude Bowery, though.
Jude Bowery,
yeah, from Boston College. Wow. I mean, this guy is a ton of bricks. And I like my offensive lineman with a little bit of nasty. And Bowery plays violent. Okay. He could also lend himself to some inside-outside versatility and give them a little bit more versatility, whereas Markel Bell is strictly a tackle. I would say Shelton is strictly a tackle. So I think that Bowery could maybe provide some versatility. I like him. I think he's a gritty, tough, hard-nosed player, but out of the bunch, I think Shelton and Bell probably have the starter potential that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting there. A lot of different ways to go here in this draft. Rick, just a question for you, big picture. You've been doing the draft, obviously, for a long time, do it very well.
Thank you.
You have a guy like, and I'll just use the offensive lineman here because it's the one that comes to mind. When you're grading these guys, when you're watching tape, when you're looking at scouting reports, when you're making your big boards, how do you gauge a player, for example, like a Blake Miller who plays 50-something starts in college, right? Versus a guy like Monroe Freeland, who feels like the name wasn't a first-round player until the combine rolled around. You watched the Georgia tape last year. He looked good, but he never really looked like a first-round player. Now, I look at him and I'm like, that's a good prospect, right? So you have a good player in Blake Miller, and you have a good prospect, in Monroe Freeland. How do you kind of gauge those two things and figure out, all right, I know it's hard. It's obviously not a perfect science. That's why some people miss on draft picks. But how do you personally gauge those two things and, obviously let it dictate your big board and things like that?
It's a great question. And I think that's what makes the NFL draft evaluation process such a beautiful thing, right? Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. And right. I saw somebody in the chat room say, hey, well, you shouldn't bet on the upside with a first round pick. You want somebody who's more dependable. And I think it becomes a personal preference in terms of what you're looking for, what you're seeking, and what you're trying to achieve. So with Blake Miller, it's going to be more of a safe selection. And I know what I'm getting, right? Because of the body of work, because of the experience, because we've seen him in so many different situations, there's a little less guesswork, right? And then you get a guy like Monroe Freeling, who's one of the youngest players in the draft. He's 20 years old, soaking wet behind the ears, not a lot of starting experience. But then you see the flashes of dominance and you see his agility and his size, and you say, well, his 25 snaps are way better than Blake Miller's best 25 snaps, right? And so now you have to determine your coaching staff. Jeff Stoutland's not there anymore. So can we develop that kind of talent? Do we have the in-house staff to bring him along and have him achieve his potential, right? You want these players to achieve their potential, whereas Miller's not going to have much progression, right? His development's going to be more of a plateau,
right?
Because we haven't seen him really take those next steps of being like, we've seen flashes of dominance from Monroe Freeling. I don't put on the Clemson kid and say, man, he's a dominant player. Right. Now, when you look at the worst 25 snaps, you'll say, well, Blake Miller's pretty sturdy. He doesn't make many mistakes. And then Monroe Freeling is at times lost in the sauce. But I think you have to really get to know the player. I think that's where the DNA, the personality, your contacts and resources, talking to the coaching staff down there at Georgia, you try to figure out the pieces to the puzzle. And can it work? And it's a fascinating evaluation process because you have to factor in the talent, but you also have to factor in the personality and the coachability, right? You've got to have somebody who's willing to be coached. And I think Monroe Freeling has those traits. I haven't spent enough one-on-one time to really get a good personal feel on that. But I think you're really at that point going with you're relying upon your team of people, and you're going with your gut instinct when you have to roll the dice a little bit, but the reward could pay greater dividends than the safer pick. But
no risk it, no biscuit, right, Rick? No risk
it, no risk it, no biscuit. And whether you're a contender ready to win now or building a team, I think that can also factor into that kind of decision making.
Yeah, it should. I mean, you got to be honest with yourself and where you are as a team, which I often say is, one of the more difficult things for NFL GMs to be. And yeah, it's not an exact science. So that is certainly true. Do want to get to defense to you because we've been talking offense a lot because Howie Roseman said we got to start drafting offense. So it makes sense. But there are a couple defensive holes, and one of them is safety. And they brought in an interesting prospect for a 30 visit, and wanted to get your thoughts on trading Stukes. A lot of people have him as a corner. He's got that slot safety versatility, which just sounds like Vic Fangio. That's what he likes. He calls that a mirrored position at times in his defense. Drew Makuba had that. Just seems like a big Fangio player. So two things, your evaluation of him as a player, but also do you see him as somebody who can translate to playing safety full time?
I do, and I have him listed as my number 5 safety right now. But I do think, depending on who you are and who your scheme is, you could definitely view him as a corner because he's 6 foot, 190, ran a 4.37 40. So he definitely has the speed to survive and compete with the wide receivers. I think he could slide in and play nickel. He could freelance and play safety. He could roam back there. Tremendous instincts. And, this is a guy that checks off all the boxes in terms of pedigree, experience, testing, production. So I like Treydon Stukes a lot. I think he's a home run hit for the day 2 kind of prospects. And I think, again, just going back to draft philosophy, sometimes you don't want to hit a home run every single selection. Sometimes it's okay to just hit a single or a double. And we talk about, we know what we're getting with the Treydon Stukes. The body of work is there. The resume is in the can. And I like his versatility. I think he kind of he would provide the Eagles with a little bit of a chess piece there on defense.
Yeah, we'll see what they do on defense. Howie talked about wanting to, retool this offense. So I don't know that they go defense super high, but obviously they do need those players. And I wonder how much they factor in maybe the last year of Vic Fangio. I've seen somebody in the chat talk about Rashford. I think it's you in the chat who's been saying, you got 1 year left of Vic. Maybe let's get a safety and have Vic Fangio train him up, for the last year, capitalize on that. I know Howie can't make decisions on that, but they do need a safety. So I do wonder where the value might be in those mid rounds there for the Philadelphia Eagles. They do have 4 picks in the top 100. And Rick, I think they're going to have to make their hay in there. And I don't know if they're going to be able to trade down. Have you heard anything about that, about, the trade potential in this draft? I saw a report the other day. This might be a heavy trade draft, but if everybody wants to move down, Rick, then nobody can move down,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think plenty of teams are willing to move down. It's just trying to find a dance partner to tango that wants to move up, because who's the player really that you're going to trade up for? Usually it's the quarterbacks. There might be one guy, Ty Simpson, that teams want to trade up for. There's a little bit of smoke with the Cowboys, with them possibly moving up to number 3. I think the Cardinals are going to be where you could see a potential trade at number 3, especially if the Cowboys want to move up for David Bailey and nab one of those pass rushers.
Right.
But I just don't see, is a team really going to trade up for a running back in Jeremiah Love or an off-ball linebacker or a safety in Caleb Downs. Like these
Maybe
are
if
not.
the tackle falls, if one of those 5 or 6 tackles falls to 18, 20, is that a spot?
It's possible, but like, is there really a consensus tackle that jumps out to you where you're like, oh, I got to go and get this one? Because we just talked about like 6 candidates in round 1. So do you really need to give up draft equity to move up? I think the other factor too, and this seems to be a conversation that we have every year, is, well, have you seen the 2027 quarterback draft class? Right. And I think that could be a little bit of fool's gold, especially in the modern day.
It's always fool's gold. Well, then we'll be ripping them apart, Rick.
Yeah, we were having this conversation last year, but I think also too, like with this NIL deal going, you see all these quarterbacks now, they're suing the NCAA to stay in school.
Yeah.
Chambliss, the kid Chandler Morris, these quarterbacks now, they want to stay in school and collect that extra payday. So while it looks appealing, well, how many guys are really coming out next year? We don't know that.
Yeah.
So it looks sexy as hell, but I think you can get yourself in a pickle there when you're kind of holding out. Like if you're the Jets and you're the Cardinals or you're even the Cleveland Browns and you're saying, hey, well, we're going to wait until next year.
Plus, I mean, go have some confidence. Go out and develop somebody. It's like I think too many teams are like, oh, they don't develop these guys at the college level. It's not their job. They're trying to win games.
True.
They're not teaching guys to be under center, and they're trying to win games at their level, or they're going to get fired. So their job is to not develop players for you. You got to go in. You got to get players specifically at the quarterback position, and get somebody who can develop them. And have some damn patience. Nobody has any patience. Like I break my own rule with JJ McCarthy. I said that kid can't play, but I admit I had no patience on him.
I think patience is really a lost quality in the NFL. I think you see 10 head coaching.
Oh yeah, I mean the coordinators. It's insane. People talk. People always hear Rick talk about. Well, Jalen Hurts has a different coordinator every year. Look at the coordinators around the league. It's they're gone. And unless you have a head coach who calls plays, you're not going to have consistency at that play caller position. But at Rick Serritella, make sure you follow Rick on the X platform. The NFL Draft Bible is out, so go order it at allaccessfootball.com. You can get it there. It does a tremendous job. Thanks for sending it along. It is phenomenal. I haven't put it down since I got it. Awesome. So always appreciated. Also doing work for Boston Sports Journal, Draft Insider there. All over the place. You can get your Rick Serritella. And those beach updates are coming soon. So
they are 80 degrees Tuesday. I can't wait. Buckle
up. Everybody get up. So I'll leave it there. You were talking edge rusher. That's my last one because that's also an Eagles need. They lost Jalen Phillips in free agency. They have good players, but they don't have a headline pass rusher. Yeah. I don't see that guy at 23. Like, I don't see that guy. Is there somebody in your mind who can come in year one and be a 10 sack guy at 23? Because I don't see that guy.
Yeah, I don't see that guy. I guess if I had to bet on a player that could get there, it would be TJ Parker out of Clemson. I think he reminded us down in Mobile why coming into the season he was actually considered the top-rated pass rusher coming into the year by a lot, myself included. And much like a lot of the Clemson players this year, the season didn't go as anticipated, and I think he lost some of his luster with not having the type of production that we expected him to have. But he has a pass rush repertoire. He's got counterattacks. He's got size. He's got agility. And he does have production getting after the quarterback. So I don't know if I see him as like a perennial double-digit sack guy, but you're talking about a guy who should be able to achieve 7, 8, 9 sacks on an annual basis. I like the tool set. I don't think his upside is as great as a David Bailey or even a Reuben Dane Jr., but I think this is probably the next best guy after those two on my board, at least.
Be interesting to see what they end up doing here, Rick. 9 picks in this draft, and the Birds need some players. Real quick, you got AJ gone, or what are you reading in all this drama? You think AJ's out of here in Philly?
I think he's going to be dealt, and I think the Eagles will probably wind up taking a first-round pick for next year. And I think
future first. Howie will get his first. I guarantee it might go to 2028, but he'll get his first.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we mentioned it on the last time I was on the show. Just it only takes one bad apple to spoil the bunch, and I just think that the noise is maybe getting a little bit too loud, louder than Howie Roseman and company would like. And so I do foresee a trade come draft day.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening with it. Rick, great stuff, man. We appreciate you joining in. We love the NFL Draft Bible. It's one of the very best. You are one of the very best covering the draft, which is a tough thing to cover. How many names you already got on the 2027 draft board? I know it's already in the works, my friend.
Yeah, so the back of the draft Bible, we've got the top 20 players at each position. We've got about 300 players ranked for the 2027 NFL draft. And just a little side note, I'll be streaming all 3 days live during the draft. So tune in over at All Access Football on YouTube, especially on day 3. I think we're going to provide a lot of value on some of these day 3 players who come off the board, pick by pick analysis. And quite frankly, I'm doing it because I'm so personally frustrated with watching the ESPN and NFL Network on day 3. I can't take it, guys. I mean, they're talking about guys taken on day 1, and meanwhile, 10 players scroll off the board that just got drafted. They don't mention a thing about them. So I figured, you know what? I'm just going to do it myself. There's not going to be anything fancy about it. But if you're looking for instant reaction, live pick-by-pick analysis, we're going to be doing that over at All Access Football on the YouTube.
Nice.
Great stuff there. Rick, we appreciate you doing it today, man. We will be in touch. Maybe we'll talk to you again after the Birds make their picks here. Less than 2 weeks out, my friends.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Always appreciate the time, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thanks, bud.
There's Rick Serritella joining us right here on Birds 365. Great segment there. Always appreciate Rick doing it. The NFL Draft Bible is freaking awesome. I've been looking at it too, John. Rick sent me it over. So really good and really thorough breakdowns, of players and different position groups and things of that nature. So definitely get your hands on it if you are a draft honk, no doubt about it. And going to be interesting, John. Going to be very interesting draft here this year with the Birds and where they stand, and obviously the potential of trades and lingering and things of that nature. So I'm excited.
Get ready for that first 2027 mock draft. You're right. He's got obviously Arch Manning, number 1 with the quarterbacks. And, one thing I can tell you about college football is there will be a shitload of receivers again.
Yeah.
Starting with Jeremiah Smith, who might be the best of the past 5 years or so, at least. That dude's phenomenal. It's always Ohio State.
Yeah. Arch Manning sitting at the top. Dante Moore, I don't like. I'm not a
big Arch guy. I don't think
I'm not a huge Arch guy really either. Yeah.
I mean, he's got Julian saying a little bit low. I see CJ Carr's not in there. I don't know if he's eligible after this season or not. I think he is. Maybe I'm wrong.
I see Rocco Becht. Shout out to Anthony Becht. Been on the JAKIB channel many a times. Rocco Becht.
Penn State quarterback.
He just transferred to Penn State, so he hasn't played at Penn State yet. But he'll play there this year.
He'll probably be better than Drew Aller.
Yeah, well, Drew struggled, but I think Drew still has good traits. But
he's definitely got the measurables, and he's definitely. But you watch him play, and it's not there.
It is funny though how it's like people are like, oh, the next year's quarterback.
Yeah, it's always that way.
It's always that. It's just like, all right. Well, by the time we get the next year, Arch Manning might fall flat on his face, and everybody's
you gotta take
Moore and Arch Manning. Nobody wants to take them at the top of the draft.
I'm criticizing myself here with McCarthy because I made a quick assessment of JJ McCarthy, but I think I'm right. So I'm not saying there's always room to wiggle, but I think it's ironic because I use that Kevin O'Connell quote all the time. Organizations fail young quarterbacks more than young quarterbacks fail organizations, which I believe is true. But there's always outliers. JJ can't play. But for the most part, you got to show some patience with guys who show something, like Tyler Shuck. Like he showed something. He's going to have some hiccups, but that doesn't mean you just pull the plug on him. Because you got to get over the hump and you got to learn and you got to do these things. And we're talking about it here. Jalen Hurts took over as the starter in 2021, and we're still talking about him learning things as far as being under center and being more comfortable with motion and doing things. And it's a process, man. There's got to be more patience.
Yeah, well, John, I maybe this is an old school, I guess, line of thinking, but I used to say quarterbacks get drafted in round one. I'd do it like Andy Reid did it with Patrick Mahomes. Draft a quarterback, trade up to get your guy, whoever it is you like, put him on the bench for a year. Don't rush him out on the – and I get it. We live in a microwave society, Johnny Mac, so that's not really what people do anymore. But I've always thought that was the best way to do it. Especially
it's just not, the expectations that they'll get on the field. Like, with Mendoza, I thought it was very smart that the Raiders signed Kirk Cousins.
That's a perfect example. I'd be starting Kirk Cousins.
Oh, yeah. Well, they will. But at some point, week 7, week 8, when it becomes clear they're not going to be a playoff team, then you make the change. So I don't know if you can afford to wait a year, especially when the guy's number 1 overall. There's just so much pressure to get.
Why? Like, it's just because of that, though, right? It's just because of pressure. There's no other reason.
No.
You can wait a year other than that. You feel like the clock is ticking. You got to get him out there. You got, but it's like you invest a first round pick. The very least, I'm going to invest the time needed to allow that player to reach his potential.
Well, there's some give and take. Like you can't just do it behind the scenes because you need live reps, and you don't get live reps in practice anymore. Right. So they do have to play.
And the other thing there is Rasputin's right. Only works if you have a guaranteed long-term cut. And we all know how this league goes.
Yeah,
John,
exactly.
All the time. Some players, some guys are they don't know if they're going to be here next year, let alone next week, or 3 years from now. So that's a big part of it too.
Yeah. And for GMs as well. I mean, if you take a guy number 1, your whole career is John Spytek is at the waist with Fernando. And if he fails, he's out.
Yep. Careers on the lines, no doubt about it. But, I don't think that's a good way to do it. Again, I'm just a dude on YouTube. I know they're not going to listen, but it is what it is. Let's go to some supers. I think we got one super. I want to thank Drew. Drew becomes a member today, or re-ups. Sends a super chat where I think you meant to put a chat, but you didn't put it. And then you sent another one with the comment. So, Drew, thank you, brother. We appreciate the support of the channel. Means a lot. Drew says this. Couldn't Howie have an agreement in place with New England to call them draft night, tell them who to pick at 31, then complete a trade for A.J. Brown June 1st? That doesn't sound likely.
Never happened before. I mean, that's like NBA stuff, which I think is terrible. Certainly the NFL doesn't want it. I don't think there's technically any rule from doing that, but remember what happens in the NFL and why it's not. You're after the draft, you have the 9-week off-season program. So you're saying he's going to stay. This projected player is going to stay in New England for those 9 weeks, and he's going to practice with the Patriots, and he's learning their scheme. It just doesn't work in the NFL. So I would say no, it's not a possibility. What's he going to do? You're going to sit him? And then he goes over to Philadelphia after the offseason program. Pretty much.
It just doesn't.
You still have mandatory minicamp, but it's just not. It's not like other sports. It's just not feasible.
Yeah, I agree. It's just too much, just too many hurdles to jump through there. It's not just draft and then they wait. You know what I mean? So I agree with John there. I don't think they do that. Drew, I appreciate the question. It is interesting to see how the Eagles will play it. You know, John, I also floated this. I think I might have said it to you. I might not have said it to you. I might have said it somewhere else. It all runs together, as you always say, doing so much content here. But is there a thought that the Eagles might want to, if there is, if people have said, oh, they don't want to take the huge cap hit. They want to spread that out. Well, it's kind of the same cap hit. You've looked at the numbers. It's basically the same dead cap hit.
No, it's not basically. It's the exact same. You're just splitting it. You're just splitting it over. Right. Yeah, that's not unique to
So
aging.
Is there a thought process that take it all up front to get it off?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's why they created the flexibility to do it if they can get what they want.
Right. And then it's out of there quicker.
Yeah. And then you just take it all in 1 year. And there's some good to that, as you're pointing out. But that's the same with everybody. I mean, that's just the June 1st is whether it's cuts or trades or that's everybody. It's the same. The dead cap hit is the same. It's just spread over 2 years instead of accelerating to one. That's the only difference. And if you need that cap space, it's important to wait till June 2nd. But if you don't and you have the space and you're willing to take the hit, a lot of times it's better to just take your medicine and get it over with and be done with it. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't change at all, the number. It's accounting. It's already money that you have to account for. So it's just a matter of moving it over from one column to two columns, but it's the same number.
Yeah, we'll see what the Birds do with that. Should be interesting to see. Drew, thanks for the super chat, brother. Thanks for becoming a member. Thanks for supporting the channel. We appreciate everybody being here today. Got about an hour left to play here on a Football Friday edition of Birds 365. I want to give a thanks to Brian Fritz and Fritz Bianculli Law Firm for sponsoring the program today. Some good things coming as we inch closer here to the 2026 NFL Draft. 13 days away. Ready to put some of the drama behind us, John, as it just continues to pop up. Dude, we're like the Cowboys.
Wow.
We got so much drama every other week.
Well, the difference between the Eagles have a ton of drama. You could argue they have more than the Cowboys.
That's the difference.
But yeah, but their drama does not reach the front office. They have a smart front office. And the Cowboys have some good people. Will McClay is tremendous, but it's hard to operate with Jerry Jones.
Where's your A.J. Brown meter?
80-20 gone. The only way he's here is if Howie's being stubborn and he takes it to the trade deadline,
which he could do very well.
Yeah, he's done it in the past. I do think there's a misconception too. There's a lot, and again, it doesn't come from a certain someone. It comes from Albert Breer, who's very plugged in, obviously league-wide, but also the Patriots. He's a Boston guy, but he was an NFL Network guy before he took over for Peter King. So very plugged in. And now because there's, the Jalen Waddle, the perception is, again, everything's in a vacuum, right? It's like, well, Jalen Waddle got this, so you'll get this for A.J. Brown. Look, there's a lot of concern over A.J.'s knee with these teams. Now, Tennessee, when they traded him, the belief was, well, we can't give this money to somebody who's got a degenerative knee condition. That was one of the reasons they traded him to begin with. Mike Vrabel obviously didn't want to trade him. And now you have teams looking at it, and supposedly, again, I haven't confirmed this, but Albert did evidently. That was one of the concerns with the Rams, who got evidently far enough down the road to get some of the information, take a look at it. There's a lot of shit that goes into this that people don't realize. And, the belief that so-and-so got this and so-and-so's better, not necessarily the case. contracts. Could be as simple as contracts, could be as simple as age, could be contract, age, health, all of it. A lot of shit goes into it.
If we put ourselves in a vacuum, John, I know you don't like to do that, but if we put ourselves in a vacuum for a second and acted like there was no drama around AJ Brown, there was no unhappiness, that's not a part of the equation. Just take all that out for a second and talk strictly football, contracts, roster building, cap, things of that nature. Is there an argument to be made that a team who has been as low producing, I guess, but not a great way to word it, but as the Eagles in the passing game, doesn't really make sense for them to pay the receivers that they're paying anyway, does it? I mean, they got $60 million in receivers. You know, would it make sense from a team building standpoint of saying, well, if our passing game is not going to be the thing that allows us to continue to win football games, and it's the run game, it's the offensive line, it's the defense, it's some of these other things, well, why are we paying $60 million there anyway? You know, take the drama out of it. Is that a fair thought process that you think Howie might be having? Or is it the opposite where the passing game is so bad and you better have good players to make it, you know, even a lick of competent?
Well, I think it's a fair assessment to have. I think it's because they're not getting the value of two top-tier receivers.
Right.
I think that's related to a different position, but I don't want to go down that route.
No, I agree. It's, you know, the whole team.
I know how highly they think of AJ as a player. I know how highly they think of Devontae Smith as a player. That's why they're trying to, you know, get the passing game up to speed, and have been even before this stuff started. So I think that's a different shift. But as far as, yeah, I've said from the start, from a business perspective, just purely business, this is not the time to trade AJ Brown. You know, there was no drama, if there was no, but you can make it, and I think the health part of it is because they have better information than anybody else. And this knee has been troublesome for a couple years now. So they're having those same understanding. And, you know, is he going to miss 3-4 games every year? Is this going to be a problem? Is he going to fight through this? Yeah, I think that would be even the bigger reason to start to contemplate life after AJ Brown. And that's why I think they're taking a wide receiver this year, whether they have him or not. Whether their plan is to move him or Howie's saying, you know what, fuck that, we're going to keep him. I still think they're drafting a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, well, that's why I've been saying what I said. You know, I don't think it immediately means they get rid of AJ.
Well, and I think, you know, it's a pretty clear indication that AJ's short term, though. You know,
yeah, well, I mean, but he is
or next
his age, right?
Yeah, and injury hit, and you know, if this knee is truly problematic, it's a short term thing. So you're probably talking about, you know, a short term, best case scenario, 1 more year with AJ.
Yeah. John, we talked about, it's obviously draft season, so we've talked a lot about quarterbacks and things of that nature, just from a, you know, an NFL draft standpoint, not as focused on Philadelphia, but one of the things you always say, many people say, John, is teams fail quarterbacks, you know, more than quarterbacks fail teams. And obviously Jalen Hurts, is well past that point of his career, going into what, year 7 as a starter, or is it year 6 as a starter for Jalen?
2021. So 22, 29, 21, 22. This is
year 6, right? Yeah, year 6 as a starter. Do you think the Eagles have done everything? Do you think they've not failed Jalen Hurts? I guess
I don't think. How could he be a failure?
I don't think he's been a failure. I'm saying, have they taken away from his ability because of the coaches they've put around him? Because of maybe some of the offenses that they've tried to run. You think there's something to be said about the fact that they haven't maybe tried to develop him as much as they should?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they've tried, and they scale back, and they'll try again, and they'll probably scale back again. And I don't even think necessarily that's a bad thing. I don't. You know, I also, that's a Kevin O'Connell quote about failing, young quarterbacks. But I also like the Bill Parcells, which is don't tell me what a quarterback can't do. Tell me what he can do. And he says that forever. It wasn't about quarterbacks. It was about players in general. Don't
Right.
tell me what they can't do. Tell me what they can do, and then we'll build around that. I think that's the way. That is the best quote about coaching I've probably ever heard, because he got frustrated with his scouts one year, and he was like, I don't want to hear what they can't do. Tell me what they can do. Because that's what we do. We just had Rick on, and we kill these kids. This kid can't do that. And I do it. I'm the same. Everybody does it. This is, I said it about Boston. I don't like Boston. I don't want to take him because he's a contested catch guy. Well, if you do like him, build around that.
Right. Tell me what he can do and build on it.
Yeah. So I think, they've done a tremendous job building a successful team around Jalen Hurts. And it's kind of silly to me, as I've said from the start, that they're trying to change. I saw a great stat yesterday, and I'm not a big stat guy, but this kind of blew my mind. And I had to see if I can find it, because I didn't think it was to this level.
I know which stat you're talking about. I saw you put it up on X.
Yeah. So it's the fewest plays, remember this, trailing in 2025, which tells you a lot. That means you're fucking good. Number one, Seattle, 284 plays they were behind. That's the Super Bowl champion.
That is so low. 284 total plays in the year.
Number two, the Patriots, who won the AFC, 288. And they had the easy schedule and all that, and that factors into it. But obviously, a very good team with the games they played. Number three, Jacksonville, 310. Underrated, very good team. Number four, the Philadelphia Eagles, 315 plays. They were behind all season. And again, we talk about this team like they won 5 fucking games, like they're a fucking disaster. They won 11 fucking games. Didn't have Lane Johnson for 8 of them. Landon Dickerson was a shell of himself. Cam Jurgens was a shell of himself. And they won 11 games. I get it. It was ugly. If that alone, that's the only thing that changes. Lane plays, because you're not going to fix Landon Dickerson and Cam Jurgens. But if Lane doesn't get hurt and plays 17 games, they're a 13-win team. I don't know where they go from there. It's probably still just as ugly. Well, maybe
you think that stats more because of their defense?
I think, well, that's a big part of it. Yeah.
You're right, though. It does highlight that. It does highlight the way we talk about the team versus what the results are.
I mean, it's a team game for the reason. Sometimes the defense picks you up, sometimes the offense, sometimes the special teams like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter block and kicks. It's a team game, but I'm not gonna hold it again. How much of those 284 plays? You're more aesthetic with Seattle, with Darnold throwing deep balls to Smith and Jigba, but their defense was freaking good too. You're not going to be successful if you don't have a good defense, so I'm not going to hold that against them.
No, yeah, I wasn't saying it to hold it against them. I was just saying it as the area where they need to improve to make that, to get that better or to have better results at the end of the year. To me, it's the offense, which is
yeah. I mean, obviously the offense wasn't as good as the defense, but I do think the assumption that I think people are more focused on how ugly it was versus. They weren't the 32nd worst defense offense in the NFL. I don't know what they end up 20. I don't know.
I think 25th.
And there were actually worse offenses. Now, yeah, I get it with the expectations and the players they have. I'm not saying it wasn't an ugly offense, but
Yeah.
it's been an ugly offense since 2021, and everybody's fine
Yeah.
with it as
But
long
at
as you
most
win.
offense, eventually that chicken's going to come home to roost,
Well, I mean, look, even if it was prettier and Lane gets hurt and Landon's messed up like it was messed up, you're going to have some issues. It might be prettier at times, but I just don't get this drastic. Oh, we got to fix this. I mean, yeah, if you want it to be like, to me, the goal is wrong. Like, the goal is to be prettier and to get style points, and that shouldn't be
Well,
the
that
goal.
shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be to be more effective, right?
Yeah. Which, and ultimately, I think that is the goal. The perception, I should have said better, is that the goal is to get the pass. Like, I think this whole thing is about getting the running game going. I could be
Well, then
wrong.
that goes back to my original question, though, right? I mean, have they done? You mentioned the Parcells quote. Have they built around Jalen Hurts' talents?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've done a very good job of it, as a matter
Okay.
of fact.
And now you think this starts the first potential for changing from that, or straying?
Well, they tried it with Kellen Moore. They tried to. You're always trying to evolve. You're always trying to get better at things you're uncomfortable with. Like I said, I have no problem with them. Look, try to get them more comfortable under center so you can do more things. Try to get them more comfortable with motions so you can do more things. I have no problem with that. That's natural evolution to me. But what I'm saying is, Nick brought up the Minnesota game because he had the perfect passer rating and everything was clicking. He was under center. He threw the ball 4 times under center. Now he was 4 for 4 for like 130 yards or something. It was very successful. But if that 4 for 4 turns into 30 throws from under center, you're probably not going to have a ton of success. Obviously they didn't do it much. They caught a team by surprise. The more you start doing it, the more people adjust, and yada yada yada. So there's no. You should always be trying to evolve, but you should never deter from. This is who our quarterback is. We're going to build around what he does well. And number one to me is convincing him. Look, the +1 aspect's got to be back involved, or this is going to be really, really difficult. So that's number one. Number two is fixing first down, which I think they know. They've made that pretty clear to me. Fix first down. And I think if you fix first down, everything else falls into place. You're never going to be, and I've said this, you're never going to be a high volume passing team with Jalen Hurts. It's just not. There's nothing wrong with that. Nor should anybody want that. If 350 yards, you're more likely to lose than win if you got to throw for 350 yards. Now, it'd be nice to have a guy that if you need it on a given Sunday, that you could do it and go win, but it's not what you should be striving for unless you're just worried about style points and fantasy football and all that bullshit.
And do you think the Eagles have strayed from the right approach?
Yeah, I do. If you're going to a completely different offensive scheme that does not seem, it's interesting. Acho had, Levante David on and somebody else. And he asked him, and everybody's heard the Levante David quotes, and they asked him, and people get insulted by this, but if every defensive coordinator comes into plays the Eagles, Saquon's number one. Stop Saquon since he got here. And then, They're more worried about AJ, Devontae, and then they get to Jalen. So most teams say, all right, but it's pick your poison. But most teams, when they develop a game plan for the Eagles, it's make Jalen Hurts beat you. Like why that people get upset by that, I can't. They're not lying to you. And the specific question is what kind of coverage you played, to make Jalen Hurts. And Acho asked the specific question, would you do that against Matthew Stafford? Because, Matthew's coming off the MVP season. And the answer was simple. No, we wouldn't. Like, why is that controversial to people?
Yeah, that doesn't sound like it's even one bit controversial.
No, well, it shouldn't be, but it is. I don't know. People have a hard time accepting reality. That's what teams do. When you're playing the Cowboys, when the Eagles were playing the Cowboys for years, it's how are we going to deal with Micah Parsons? That's what you do. This is what other teams are. They look at the Eagles and they say, all right, well, we got to stop Saquon and we got to make Jalen Hurts beat us. More often than not, he does. Far more often than not.
Yeah, Spagnuolo talked about that. Remember, he said, we tried to take away everything else, and Jalen took us to the woodshed in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. But he tried to stop everything else. And he wasn't wrong.
So I guess there needs to be more consistency there when teams do ask that or do that, and Jalen has to win or has to take advantage of it.
I don't. Teams are always going to do that as long as you have this roster and this talent. He's never going to be like, if you have, maybe Will Shipley's playing. Yeah, maybe they'll focus. It's not. Nobody's being disrespectful. It's you try to, if it becomes Will Shipley and he's throwing to Darius Cooper and Johnny Wilson, then they're going to try to stop Jalen Hurts. Where they're going to worry, they're going to put all their focus on. It's just, it's not disrespectful. You're looking at the team you're playing and said, well, this is more concerning. So we're going to make this guy beat us. And like I said, more often than not, he's done exactly that.
It does feel like the Eagles have abandoned that thought process a little bit. And, even the owner, when the owner spoke, he's like, we have to be a championship offense. It didn't sound like the focus was accentuating Jalen to make the offense better. It sounded like, the offense has to do what it has to do and to be better regardless of Jalen's skill set. And if somebody has a different version of that or a different vision for what that looks like than what Jalen Hurts' style of game is, then you have a clear conflict coming.
Yeah, and ultimately we'll see, if it happens. They tried it, in 2024 as well, and Kellen Moore was smart enough to shift gears.
Yeah, well, we'll see what they end up doing, Johnny Mac. It's going to be interesting. Let's go to a couple more super chats, then we will get back to the NFL draft for the last 30 minutes here on a Football Friday. I want to thank Jerry, who becomes a member today or re-ups the membership and also drops a big super chat. Jerry, thank you, man. We appreciate your support here. Just 13 days out from the draft, and Jerry showing the love. Jerry, thanks, man. He says this, $50 super chat. Thank you, Jerry. Just wanted to say thank you. As a double amputee, I get pretty bored at times, and this channel helps me get through life. Always stay positive and refuse to be broken. Great.
Oh, that's awesome. See, that's the guy. That's awesome. I'm glad, even if it's a little bit of enjoyment, whatever, for whatever reason, but that's the kind of stuff I love to hear.
Yeah, no doubt. Jerry, thank you, man. Jerry's been a big supporter of the channel for a long time. So, Jerry, we do appreciate you, brother. Stay strong, and I love the way you ended it. Refuse to be broken. Life's going to throw shit at you. Stand tall and refuse to be broken.
It is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Jerry, thanks for becoming a member. Thanks for the super chat. Philly Don checks in, member for 19 months. Philly Don, thank you, brother. Another great supporter here. We got a lot of great supporters, John. Great shows and guests this week, Zander and J-Mac. Have a great weekend, everybody. Philly Don, you too, man. Thank you very much. Here's Alfredo. Alfredo says, let Hurts throw like 2023. We were 16th. The defense sucked, though.
Yeah, he would throw more again if you have lesser talented running back. And do you really want lesser talent at running? It's like, be careful what you wish for. Like when people say the offense has changed, the offense hasn't changed dramatically. What's changed is they got Saquon Barkley. And even though they were effective with Miles Sanders and they were effective with DeAndre Swift, there's a big difference in the running game. So they needed to throw it more. Now last year it didn't work, obviously. But the year prior worked tremendously, to say the least. So the difference isn't changing or allowing, it's they had to. And if they have to throw the ball, like I just used the example of, say, unfortunately, Saquon gets hurt and Will Shipley's playing running back, or I don't want to say Tank too loud because he might hear me, but not Tank, Bigsby.
Bigsby. You're going to have to call him Bigsby.
Bigsby, which is also a great dog name. I think
right.
would
Tank
be.
Tank Bigsby has just a good name. He just has one of those names.
So, but and if it's Darius Cooper and Johnny Wilson, like I said, well, you're going to throw more. You're going to have more passing yards. You're not going to be better, but you're going to throw more and you're going to have more passing yards. The key is Zander, and the word Zander used and the word they use all the time is efficiency. What your goal is to get more efficient. And hopefully that's their goal. They seem to want to change the scheme completely. But I that's the lip service, but this is the off season. This was the same lip service when Kellen Moore came. The same lip service.
It really was. It was 100%.
And
remember pro style offense?
Yeah.
Yep.
So ultimately, and I think every Eagles fan should hope that it's all lip service and they will do what they need to do to build a winning team on game day. And I think ultimately that's what Nick Sirianni will default to, because he always has. Go win by hook or by crook. Doesn't matter what it looks like.
I agree. Alfredo, good super chat, man. Good thought-provoking super chat there. Here's Brando Shreds. What's up, Brando? Appreciate you, man. Appreciate all of you guys for being here today. Don't forget to hit that like button. Killing it, by the way, the show, especially on the podcast platform. I think it's blowing up over there, Johnny Mac. Doing really good numbers in the podcast. So big thanks to all you guys who are listening to the podcast, watching on YouTube. We appreciate all you guys. What are we, 5? John, we just passed the 5-year anniversary of Bird 365.
Really?
Well, it was April. Was it April?
I know it was April. It was April. I know we were coming up.
April 5th.
I don't know the exact date.
Making the graphic, the thumbnail graphic.
April 5th? All right. So we passed.
5th.
So we're officially in year 5, right? Or is it year 6?
Nah, 21, 22, 23, 24. Dude, is this year 6?
Well, we've done it for 5 years, so this should be
I've
year
done
6.
it for 2, right? Is this year 3 for me already? No, I'm good. Yeah, it says, holy shit, John. Time cooks, my friend.
Yeah.
Time waits for nobody, man. That's crazy. Dang, I didn't even realize that. It doesn't feel like that, but it is what it is. Yeah, you're 6, I think, J-Mac. That's wild.
Yeah. Let's see. This would be my 6, 17, 18.
You've been doing shows with Jacob for longer than that, too. You were doing shows with us for probably a year and a half, 2 years prior to that, weren't you? Maybe even longer?
Yeah. And this will be my second, the start of my second decade covering the Philadelphia Eagles. So
look at that.
Time flies.
That's pretty well done by you, J-Mac.
If I get, everything's day to day. If I get there.
Yeah, you'll get there. All right, good stuff. Brandon says this: if one of AJ's 4 teams offers a second for him, and a crappy team, Browns, Jets, Miami, offers a first, where is he going?
Well, that's kind of AJ. That's kind of a to be determined, I guess, because he had this list of teams he wanted to go to, and those teams weren't on it. So, it's easy to say we'll just do what's best, but that's not real life. Obviously, AJ's not concerned about what's coming back. He just wants to go to a place where he wants to go, where he's comfortable with. So.
But the Eagles can't make their decisions around that, can they? I mean, come on.
No, it's interesting. I do not believe he has a no trade clause.
No, well, it's never been reported that he has. I've never seen that anywhere. Jalen, obviously, we know has a no trade.
Yeah. So, technically they can trade him anywhere they want, but that's also easy to say. Everything, and that's where too much vacuum talk today. But again, everything's not in a vacuum. Like everybody watches. Like other star players are going to watch. Did they screw AJ Brown out the door? He doesn't want to be in Cleveland or what? People will. And I don't think Cleveland would want him, by the way.
Yeah, but AJ's the one who wants or who has presumably wants out. So, like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You want out, that's fine.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I get.
You know what I mean?
I get 99% of fans are going to think that way.
I don't know. Is that even a fan thought process? I mean, if you're around the league right now and you're like, look, some other receivers, John, might not care as much about stats. Now, it's receivers, so probably not. Let's be real, they're receivers. But, isn't it like, all right, the team has been successful and AJ didn't want to be a part of it because the offense doesn't play the way that's conducive to him? That's kind of on him, isn't it? I mean, you're going to knock the Eagles.
Well, I'm not going to disagree. I'm not knocking the Eagles, but I mean, it's very clear that they don't want to just trade him to anywhere. And I think that involves the relationship, which is actually pretty good from a personal standpoint. Like, he doesn't hate Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman doesn't hate him. I think there's a still respect between them. And I think they don't want to do it. He doesn't want to be here, but he doesn't want to screw over the Eagles. And the Eagles don't want to lose him, but realize he doesn't want to be here and the reasons why, and they don't want to screw him over. I just think it's a little bit more complicated than people realize.
Well, I agree. They probably don't want to screw him over, but I don't think that can be your, that can't be.
Well, Howie said, he'll do what's best for the Philadelphia Eagles. And that, he's more meaning of, I'm not going to take whatever just to get rid of him, which he said pretty consistently. And I believe that's the case because he's proven to be a stubborn guy. So, I think that's not, it's complicated. It's not as simple as people want to make it out to be.
Yeah. And look, I respect AJ and what he's accomplished, as an Eagle and with the Eagles, but come on, man, I can't placate to your needs here. You want to be out. All right. You want out. That's fine. Okay. You don't like the offense. Fine. Okay. You want to be more productive. Fine. You want to accentuate your talents. Fine. Dude, I should say, the good part that aligns is that the teams that would want AJ Brown are good teams. Not right. Because it doesn't make sense to trade for him if you're not a good team. Yeah.
So it aligns anyway. Because if you're the Cleveland Browns, to use as the example, they don't want AJ Brown. The Miami Dolphins don't want AJ Brown.
No, yeah, they're in rebuild mode here.
Yeah. The New York Jets, they don't want AJ Brown. So it kind of takes care of itself.
Interesting stuff. Good stuff. Brando, thanks for the super chat, brother. We got a couple more coming in. Thank you guys for all the super chats. Huge way to support the channel is via super chat. We appreciate it. Preston says this. What's up, B. Preston? Thanks for the support over on ZK's Garage too, man. He says this. J-Mac, what are you hearing about compensation on an AJ trade? I'm hearing the second is the highest New England is willing to go. Any confirmation of that?
Yeah, I mean, that's been their status to date. And I think Howie, as I said, will ultimately get the one, whether it's conditional or future, could go as far out as 2028. That's how you might close that gap. But yeah, they only want to give up a 2, and obviously the Eagles don't deem that as acceptable. And that's why things continue to drag. But and again, June 1st is key for the cap ramifications, but they can make the deal, say, during the draft. Now, what complicates things in the draft is, hey, maybe the Patriots go in a different direction. Maybe they draft a wide receiver and they say, all right, we're done. And then it's back to the drawing board. So there's a lot of things that could happen, including a trade on draft weekend, because Howie has set the Eagles up to where they can take the hit right now if they want to.
How sure are you, John? What is your level of certainty that AJ Brown wants out of the Eagles?
95%.
Out. Like not frustrated. Like it's possible to be frustrated, which is understandable, and not be like, I need to get out of here. Those are different things.
Well, I don't think he needs
of the year. Like, do you get, you guys know how it is. We all get angry, or we all have our emotions are high at times. And then you sit on it for a little bit. Maybe you calm down a couple days later or weeks later or months later. And you're like, maybe I thought about that wrong. Or, I'm not as adamant to get out of here. Maybe do you think could have happened with AJ? Like, I don't know.
Well, I don't think any of his any of his angst has anything to do with the Eagles or the area or not wanting to be here or any of that stuff. I think he just doesn't want to be involved with this offense anymore. And the only way you could get him back from a mental standpoint is convincing him that, hey, we're really doing this, we're really changing, but I don't think he believes the quarterback can do it anyway. So yeah, I don't think he wants to be in this offense. Period. And I think that's it. It doesn't go any further than that. It's not about personalities. It's not about he doesn't like Philadelphia. It's not about he doesn't like the organization. Everybody loves the dude. He loves everybody. He just doesn't want to be part of this offense anymore. He's a very eclectic dude. He's driven by different things than most people are driven by. And he's not going to get that here. At least that's his belief. So he wants to go somewhere where he thinks it can happen. The Rams would have been perfect. There's no way I think the Eagles would have traded. I still think that.
I don't either. Yeah.
But
Howie wouldn't have done that. There's no way.
But that's just my personal speculation. They were certainly talking. But I just don't see it. And ultimately, I don't think if he does go to the Patriots, I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work. Unless, his knees, I think his knee is an actual issue. And it's probably, it's probably time to start admitting he is in decline from a physical standpoint.
I've been saying that.
And maybe the old Branch Rickey quote, which is, it's better to give up on a player a year early than a year late, applies here. So maybe from the Eagles' perspective, it's not the worst thing in the world, too, especially if you can draft a receiver who can do some things, not necessarily right away, but long term. And I do know the Eagles have a lot of confidence in Devontae Smith's ability to be a true wide receiver one.
Preston, good question, man. We will see what that compensation looks like. I'm kind of with you. I mean, I haven't, other than what I see on social and talk to John about and hear about, but I've always thought a 1 for him didn't make a whole lot of sense for teams because he's almost 30 years old now. What is he? 20? He'll be 29 at the start of the year, right?
Yeah, and that 30 looms large. So this is probably the time. This is also probably the time to do it, to get maximum value. Not from a business, not from a contract, but to get maximum value. Because it's only going to keep going down.
Yeah. This is the last year they would get a 1, right? I mean, there's no way they would get 1.
Well, if he gets 1,600 yards,
I don't know. I still feel like it wouldn't be a 1. Like Devontae Adams is still a great player when he got traded, but he was just older, so people weren't giving a 1 for him.
They definitely. I mean, 30 is a dirty word.
Yeah, especially at that position, right? I mean, it's not like a tackle, or it's not like a, you know what I mean, where there's a potential you can play longer for later into your career. It's receiver, man. You're built on your athleticism.
Well, the knee stuff is too. Is it? You have to be very careful with that as a reporter, because sometimes it's just revision and teams trying to spin it on the way out with Tennessee. And certainly you looked at it from Tennessee's perspective and say, well, he worked in Philadelphia. He's just fine. But
John, real quick, and not to get back into this story, but that specifically is one of the things that bothered me so much about the Diana thing, and you said to me, how does she influence it? And look, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm off base on it, but for example, just entertain the example. Mike Vrabel wants A.J. Brown. The Eagles don't want to trade him A.J. Brown because he doesn't want to pay enough, right? Mike Vrabel says, oh, yeah, well, we're not interested anymore because of the knee. Diana, go put that out there. And I'm not saying this happened. I'm just saying that's one of the ways, right? Like, go put that out there. He's got a degenerative knee. Now, all of a sudden, you are manipulating.
Yeah, but she didn't.
Through reporting.
She didn't. Albert Breer did. Like that. That's why I think everybody operates in a bat. It's like she didn't. Albert Breer did.
Well, I guess she did reference a steep ass price many a times, which was we talked about.
But again, that was broken by different reporters, and then everybody else, and that's what I explained on X this morning, including myself. Then you go in and confirm it, and it's true.
Right.
Like, she didn't break any of that. Albert broke the knee stuff. And there was talk about that with Tennessee before when they tried.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a thing with AJ. Yeah. I think it was a thing in draft. Isn't that why?
That's why it was a
second round pick. I'm not saying, yeah.
So, but
just the example. I mean, even if it didn't happen in this case, it's why it should bother people, though, when a reporter.
But it doesn't bother people when it's Albert Breer doing it, because
Albert Breer's not
because he didn't do it unprofessionally. I get it. That part I agree with.
Yeah,
I get it. But she didn't break that, and nor did she break the talk of the unserious, which was the word, what the Patriots felt of the Eagles' desires for the trade. She didn't break that either. That was the Boston Herald. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And by the way, Howie's reputation, you've been doing this show for me long enough. You've heard that already, because I've heard it for 10 years.
Yeah.
The dude always asks for more than everything. You can even go back to the Cooper DeJean trade. You remember that?
Yeah.
They put the phone call, and he tried to get poor Adam Peters.
Oh, he had Jeffrey Lurie on his tail on that deal, John. He needed to get that thing freaking done, or Jeffrey Lurie.
Adam Peters just chuckled because he tried to lowball him on whatever, the 7th round pick, the late pick that they were shipped in that trade. You can go listen to it online.
Yeah.
Adam Peters laughed at it.
Howie wants every last bit of value he can get.
It's well known. It's well known in the NFL that Howie's always asking more. Yeah. And by the way, he's not alone. He's not the only. You start high and you know, the other team starts low and you go to the middle. That's generally how trades work. And the other part of it, which was, you know, no offense, but again, I chuckled with, is that, you know, the idea that it's because Diana at one point wrote, a league source believed the Eagles were trying to get multiple teams competing for Brown. Do you really need a league source for that? That's fucking common sense. That's what these guys are so good at. I mean, that's complete bullshit. That is word vomit. Yeah, he's trying to create fucking leverage.
That's literally their job. I get you. All right, here we go. Let's keep rolling. We got a bunch more supers. Thanks, everybody. I thought we were going to have a little more time. We got supers, though. I appreciate it, man. They help a lot. So here's Jerry again. Jerry, $10. Thanks, man, for all the support today. I worked for 30 years calling out only one time and taking only 3 vacations. John, speaking of that, I don't think you've ever called out a day in our 6 or 7 years together.
Yeah, man. You know what? I haven't.
No, you haven't.
I've missed.
You haven't. Neither has Cilio. Not one of you.
I've missed, like, for traveling and, you know,
well, yeah,
on planes
that's for business. I mean, that's most of that's for
But I don't like saying that because that's a knock on wood moment, man. You know. But yeah, to date, I never have.
Yeah. Now I get to sit home, get paid to play my guitars and watch JAKIB. Can't Be Broken is a song I wrote. Love and life. Jerry, God bless you, man. That is awesome. And you deserve it, man. Get to coop up, sit there, play the guitars, man. Write us a JAKIB tune, will you, brother? Write us a JAKIB tune we can play for our new intro. That'd be great. Jerry, thanks for the support, man. Here's Fredo Vic. Johnny Mac, best in the business. My guy Zander. What's up, Fredo? Thank you, dude.
Oh,
Brando shreds. Go ahead, John. What'd you say?
I just said thank you. Appreciate it.
Brando says he went from Tannehill to Hurts and became an all-pro top 5 wide receiver. Takes a serious egomaniac to think there's another level above where he is now.
Maybe, but I'll tell you what, man. Driven people think differently than the rest of us. I know that.
Yes, sir.
I've dealt with some really top-tier athletes, and they don't think like regular people. I'll tell you that. You know, I just saw a great Derek Jeter thing today that I retweeted about, you know, preparation, you know, basically, you know, everybody talks about Derek Jeter, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, because these clutch players. And, you know, he said, has nothing to do with you know, being clutch in a big moment. He said, you hear athletes talk about game speeds up, game slows down. Well, it slows down when you're prepared, speeds up when you're unprepared. That's the difference. Preparation helps you feel ready for what can and will arise. Every time you're in a situation, I've already gone through that in my head. If you have the same approach to a spring training game as you do a World Series game, nothing changes. The moment doesn't get bigger, you stay the same. That's the secret. The greats embrace the boredom of consistency because it's boring. And he's right. And I've heard that different versions of it. You know, Nick Sirianni talks about, you know, how he has to just preach the same thing every time, the consistency. And everybody's like, I don't deal with it. The consistency. So his Jeter's point was, you know, all those big moments he had, it's not about rising to the occasion. It's normal for you. And that's how he finished it up. They aren't clutch because they rise to the occasion. They're clutch because they've always been there 1,000 times in their mind. They think differently than normal people. Because they always talk about the process too. How many times I talk about the process? Forget about fucking results. They don't think about results. You do the same process and the results will follow. And they all have that in common.
Yep. Good stuff there, John. Good response. Here is Brian Forverts Pumper. Fellas, did y'all hear what Charles Omenihu said about 59? I blame Hurts for this because no way dude is talking this spicy. Humiliation ritual for us fans. The hell are you talking about?
I have no idea what Charles Omenihu said. No clue.
Charles Omenihu?
Yeah.
Who?
Offensive lineman.
Not even thinking. I thought he was isn't he a defensive end?
Oh yeah, it's a defensive end.
But that might shed light on the whole thing in itself, right there.
Yes.
Right there.
What did he say?
I don't know.
Oh, he said. Oh no, that was San Francisco. I saw somebody talking about San Francisco was better than the Eagles when the Eagles waxed them in the championship game. One of the San Francisco players. So it wasn't. That's what I saw, which is kind of silly. But anyway, I don't know what Omenihu said.
Let me look this up. Here it is. Charles Omenihu on getting blown out by the Eagles in the Super Bowl. The 49ers Super Bowl team was better.
Well,
I mean, bro, you got 40 dropped on your head. You couldn't get past half field for half the game. I mean, all right.
Yeah, I mean that was
you can make whatever comment you want, Charles.
I don't think that was the best Chiefs team by any stretch. So maybe from that standpoint, he was on some good better Chiefs teams. As proven, you remember me talking about it after that game. I was like, yeah, I think the Chiefs are done. Maybe from their standard. So he had been on better Chiefs teams, but yeah, the one that played the Eagles was just dressed down. I mean, they were embarrassed.
Wait a second. Go ahead.
I mean, they got their asses handed. They didn't pass the 50-yard line till 2 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, bro. Yeah, here he is during the game. There's Omenihu crying on the sideline as the Eagles beat the brakes off him. I mean, dude, maybe it's better to just shut your mouth on this topic.
Well, everybody's got a podcast. Everybody's got a,
but
I don't know why. I don't know why fans get upset about.
Well, it's just a stupid comment. It's a stupid comment.
Well, they fucking destroyed them. Like, who cares?
Yeah, but if he's going to make a public comment on a podcast, the people are allowed to rip it. Just like when we make comments and people are allowed to rip.
I'm saying I don't. You can do whatever. People can do whatever they want. I'm saying I don't understand why they get upset by this kind of. That's all I'm saying.
Oh but it's fun to rip him. I mean, he wants to come at the Birds. The Birds fans are going to clap back, John. That's part of the fan base, man. They're a passionate fan base.
Yeah, I mean, they. All you got to do is look at what happened on the field. I mean, they were outclassed.
I mean, dude's crying on the sideline, bitching about the Eagles. Okay, Omenihu. Okay.
That was, and like I said, after I said, I don't know how the Chiefs made the Super Bowl that year, but they shouldn't have. They were not even remotely close to the Eagles from a talent perspective.
Yeah, well, whatever.
But they have a great Hall of Fame quarterback, but I mean, not even close. And that was one I got right. They tremendously scaled. They went backwards because you could see they were an aging team.
Yeah,
on the cusp of falling apart. They fell apart.
Yes, you're right about that. We'll see when they bounce back if they're able to. Pump, thank you. Here's Bird Gang 89, another super chat. Thank you guys for taking us through the top here with the supers. Bird Gang says this: J-Mac is a man of the people. I got some Crown Royal for you. Look at that, John. Look at that.
Yeah, well, I admit my journalistic lack of integrity. Like,
You want me to try rip you for it? You should not be taking bottles of Crown.
Well, I shouldn't. But, Bird Gang vodka was one.
I think we'd all probably capitalize on a bottle of Crown if it was offered to us.
Yeah. I'll take the other stuff I just give away.
Was it Crown? Is that what it was? Or was it?
Yeah, Crown. It was Crown Royal last year. The year prior was Bird Gang.
You know that brand that made they almost worked with us for a little bit. They didn't do it though. Who's the brand that makes the Eagles tequila?
Bird Gang vodka. I don't know.
Yeah,
they gave me a bottle of
any
vodka.
good that stuff?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Nice. All right, we're at the end here. Bird Gang.
That's the only thing I keep, though. That's the only thing I keep.
John will take nothing,
that's not true.
Nothing but booze. If you give John booze, he'll take it.
Notebooks I'll use. No, I'll use a notebook.
Oh, even with an Eagle logo?
Yeah, I'll use a notebook. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I didn't know that. All right, good stuff. Appreciate everybody being here today. Hit that like button. Guys, 13 days out from the draft. John, where are you at, man, with this draft? 13 days out. You getting the excitement? What are you feeling as we get closer to this thing? What are you hearing? What do you know? What can you share with the people here at the last couple minutes of the show as we're 13 days out from the NFL draft?
Not much. I mean, I'm going to do a lot of work next week trying to talk to some people. I already talked to one of my guys. He's as clueless as me, unfortunately, with the offensive line, kind of trying to figure out is the move away from Stoutland, how much of an impact that's going to have on the style of player they draft. Now, he thinks they were so deep in the process, they can't change much this year. So maybe that bodes well for Caden Proctor. Also learned that, one of the reasons Chris Cooper's here is because of Vic Fangio. Vic gave him a very good recommendation, and he had him on his Denver staff. So Vic Fangio and Mike Munchak, who was Vic's offensive line coach, they're a big reason Chris Cooper got hired here. And that might make people feel a little bit better about Chris Cooper if Vic's giving them the seal of approval. But, that'll depend on how the offensive linemen play, let's be honest. And then I do think it's noticeable how much of the bump in receiver talk it's been from the guys who are pretty plugged in. Like I'm not talking about, no offense to anybody's not blog, but mock draft. But there's certain guys like Peter Schrager.
I might put you through agony next week, John.
Well, no, I mean, there's certain guys.
I might make your ass do a mock draft a day on Bird 65.
Well, I don't mind if we do a mock draft, but
yeah, we'll do a mock next week.
I just mean I pay attention to some certain guys that I know, like Peter Schrager knows Howie, so I pay more attention to him than Joe's blog spot. That's all. And then there's a lot of guys like Greg Gabriel, who used to be a scout for a long time, probably explained it better. Like, guys, even the top tier guys like Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper and all those guys, like they're doing, boards based on talent. Like teams are different. They don't do it that way.
Right.
So I mean, no draft board is the same. So I think that's as simple as it sounds. Everybody probably knows that, but they don't think about it that way. They say, well, there's 6 offensive line. Like Rick said, there's 6 offensive line. I think there might be 7 who might go in the first round. But I guarantee you, and I've said it a couple of times, the Eagles are going to not like all 6 or 7 of them. They're not going to like all 6 or 7 of them. So it's not just like, oh, well, Proctor's off the board and Ian Acker's there. Just take on. It's not going to be that. It's that it might be because they might like them both, but they're not going to like everybody. So that I think is one of the things that is misunderstood about the draft. It's not just as simple as, Well, we didn't get this off that offensive tackle, so go to the next one. And that is something that needs to be shined a light on, I think, a little bit more.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, a little overtime. We got a couple more supers to read, Johnny Mac. Thanks to everybody today. Here's CJVA757. What's up, brother? Thanks for being here, man. He said this. Been watching since the start. That is the best, man. We got a couple of fans, John, that have been watching you literally since the Mike Gill days, when we used to just post up your segments from when you were on, which you're still on 97.3. But that's how we started. We posted up your segments. You had Extending the Play on the South Jersey station. Yeah. And you went on Tony Bruno's show.
We got, and Mike said it. Mike said it might have been this week or last week. We were getting 20 ratings for Football at 4, which is astonishing in radio. That means 1 out of every 5 people listening to the radio was tuned in to our segment.
Yeah, that's incredible. Here's CJVA says, been watching since the start. Krause said Birds 365 sets the benchmark. Heard a podcast duo. One said Jacob by mistake. His partner looked at him like, what the F? Give this channel credit like you would Shefty. Fuck him.
Yeah.
I don't myself with that shit. At the end of the day, I don't need it.
Hey, there weren't a lot of Daily Eagles shows before this show. That's the thing I take most pride in.
Yeah.
There were none. This was the first one. And now everybody's trying to do a Daily Eagles show. Not everybody, but you get the point.
Yeah, I get you.
For a week podcast, whatever.
CJVA, I'd rather have you than have them give us or whoever the credit on the show. It is what it is. Brando says, Bird Gang Bourbon was meh. Great looking bottle, though. There we go. All right, good stuff. All right, John, your final thought here on a Football Friday, my friend. Good week of shows. Marred by drama again, McMullen.
Yeah, can't get away from the drama. It's affected draft covers, but we've had a lot of good draft stuff with Devin Jackson and Rick Serritella. Try to get Ian back next week. So it's getting closer, and obviously I'm sure there'll be more 30 visits revealed. A lot of offensive tackles though. But Rick agreed with me. The kid Penn State, man. Oof. And I don't think he'll fall to 23, but if he falls to 23.
He seems to be going like this for you. I've heard you talk about him more and more and more kind of as the days have gone on here.
Going to be a good player. And
I wouldn't hate it, man. I tell you, John, I'm offensive line here. I want the Eagles to take an offensive lineman. I really do. I think that's the best move for them to make.
Yeah, I certainly do. And part of it, because so many good receivers in the second round, and the edge complicates it because you need an edge rusher. But I don't like the edge rushers. I just don't like the edge rushers. I think similar to wide receiver, you can. Like TJ Parker, Rick said TJ Parker. I'm like, all right, I'll take the kid from Michigan in the second round if I want to go that. Or,
right.
So anyway, I'm still very heavily tinted towards offensive line with the draft in the first round.
Yeah. All right, John, great show, man. Great week of shows. Next week, get ready, John. Get ready to be pissed at me next week. Next week when we're ripping mock drafts. All right, my friend. Thank you, brother.
All right. See y'all.
All right, thanks, J Mac. There's Johnny Mac. There's John. Have a good weekend, J Mac. Appreciate him doing it. Follow him at JF McMullen. Appreciate all you guys for being here this morning. A lot of great super chats today. Always love hearing from the great people at JAKIB Nation, man. I tell you guys this all the time. I'm not a reporter. I'm not even a long-term talk show host. All right. My loyalty is to the people who watch this channel and nobody else. I don't give a rat's ass about anybody else. Not a reporter, not a talk show host, not a former radio guy, not an executive. I don't give a rat's ass about them or the approval of them. I'm loyal to the great people of JAKIB Nation who've been loyal to us. And that's where my loyalty lies, especially when it comes to our programs, especially when it comes to our content, especially when it comes to, just trying to make content for the people. You know what I mean? To serve you guys, to give you entertainment like Jerry talked about earlier, so things of that nature. So I do appreciate you guys. Today on Zander Time, I just thought of this. All right. Oh, here we go. Real quick follow-up. CJ, I dig it. My point was that most people get their news cycle here. Oh, absolutely, CJ. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. CJ, thanks for being a supporter, man. Long time. We appreciate you, brother. So I just thought of this on Zander time. What I want to do today is I want to do a mock simulator with you guys. I want everybody to check in, though. I don't want it to be my mock simulator. I want it to be a mock simulator together. All right, so we're going to pick the Eagles. Let's do. You guys want to use the Pro Football Network list, the consensus list, ESPN, PFF, The Athletic. Hey, no Athletic here, bro. No Athletic here. Their lead reporter's Diana Rossini. I'm out on that. Which one does Ian Cummings work for? That's who I like. Ian Cummings is a freaking beast. Yeah, that's who I like. So Ian Cummings manages the simulator on Pro Football Network. Okay. So let me share this up. Let me actually make this its own tab here. All right. We'll share this up and do this together. Football Friday. Hope everybody has a great weekend, by the way. I appreciate all you guys. All right. Here we go. All right. We got a mock simulator. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit on this thing. All right. All right. So we'll go. I'm going to go PFSN here because I'm pretty sure Ian makes the list. All right. And I like Ian. All right. I like Ian. Let's do a solo draft, 7 rounds. We're the birds. Enter the solo. Now, is it just going to, I guess it's just going to rattle through them, right? Yeah. All right. That's good. That's fine. All right. So let's see who goes before us. All right. So pick 23. We're not taking any trades. I don't want your future second. All right. All right, so Vega gone, Proctor gone, Fano gone, Dylan gone, Jeremiah Love is gone, Monroe Freeling is gone. Holy shit, if this happens, we're in trouble. Mansour Delane gone, Francis Mogiai, or however you say his name, is gone, Carnell Tate, David Bailey, Fernando Mendoza, Arvell Reese, Ruben Bay. All right, all these people gone. So if you get the 23, Mesidor gone, man, this is why I think the Eagles got to consider moving up, guys. This is why I think the Eagles got to consider moving up here. You know, you look at just the way this first round goes. If all of that happens, and it's mocks, you guys get it. This is why John hates them. There's no guarantee that this is what happens here. But if this is what happens, you got Kenyon Sadiq, you got Omar Cooper Jr., you have Caden McDonald, which they obviously don't need a defensive tackle at this point. You got Max Ironacre, who John has been iffy on. You got KC Concepcioni. You got Blake Miller. Maybe Blake Miller's the pick. You got Christian Miller. You got Zion Young. You got Ty Simpson. Avion Terrell. Denzel Boston. Emmanuel McNeil Warren. See, these are second-round guys to me. It's not Kenyon Sadiq. I know some people are going to be in on Sadiq. Not Hurt says if Sadiq is there, it's hard to pass up. Ian Acor. Bob Brown says Ian Acor. Brandon Howard says, give me Ty Simpson. Jerry says, in if you're serious. I'm absolutely serious. Bro, hit me with the email. Hit me with the email, Jerry. I'll listen to it, man. I'm absolutely serious. Kenyon Sadiq. Bob wants to trade him. Zander should have traded AJ 23 and 54 to KC for 9 and 29. Bob, isn't that kind of, I mean, look, Bob, I like your trade, but don't you agree it's kind of pie in the sky when you have that many assets and picks involved in a hypothetical trade? I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't like going that route just because it's so hard to gauge. I mean, it's easier for me to pick a player. Both of them are hard to gauge, but I don't know. I don't want to go Sadiq here, guys. I do agree it's hard to pass up with him at this point if you look at it like this, but Caden's gone. Yeah, he went to Dallas. I don't think that's what I mean. I don't think he's going to Dallas, but restart. I didn't get what I like. Restart. Restart. I'm with you, Trojan. I think trade back here, but who knows? I'm taking Blake Miller. You guys good with Blake Miller? I think it's Miller. Give me Blake Miller. All right, we take Blake Miller. Let's see where we fall at 53 now, or 54. No more trades. No, I'm good on that. All right. Then you get into round 2 here. Trading Stukes, we've talked about him. Kalen Rutledge, Jeremy Bernard, Oscar Delp. Maybe this is the Oscar Delp right here. Maybe this is Oscar Delp right here. You got an offensive lineman in round 1. Maybe this is where you go tight end. Pick up Oscar Delp. John's talked a lot about him here. Kamara Ramsey, Jennings Dunker already took a tackle. Chris Johnson, AJ Halsey, maybe safety. I don't see it though. Trading Stukes, I don't see it. Corner. Edge, Malachi Lawrence. I think I go Delp here. Let's go Delp. All right, let's see what we got here. Now round 3. All right. 68 overall. Trading Stukes still sitting there. Cassius Howell, maybe Howell. You go edge rusher here. Skylar Bell. Did Chris Bell come off the board? Ted Hurst came off the board. Sorry, Bob. I know you like him. Chris Bell came off high in the second. All right, you're round 3, 68. I'm looking safety or edge here or even wide receiver. Safety, edge, or wide receiver. Already took a tight end, so Eli Stowers, roll him out. You go Genesis Smith, safety. I think Cassius Howell might make some sense here. Josiah Trotter, probably not going anywhere there. Jalen Kilgore. I'd like to wait on my second, third round pick. I think you could get Kilgore. We're down at 98. Probably will be off the board by then. 68 and 98. What are you guys thinking here? What are we thinking here? Stukes or Stowers, the wide receiver? I like Stukes. I think it's Howell. I'm with Bob Brown. I'm going Howell here. Let's go Cassius Howell. Get the edge rusher out of the way. All right, edge rusher down. Now we're sitting at 98 overall. We're rejecting all trades. I'm not going to take a trade. I don't want to play that game. All right, see, this is the challenge. You get to 98, and it's like Isaiah World's gone. Jalen Kilgore's gone. Claire is gone. Bud Clark is gone. They're all gone. Round 1, I went with Blake Miller because the board didn't really fall our way there in round 1. We'll do this twice or 3 times. Just do it quicker here. All right, now you need a safety. Maybe Zakee Wheatley, maybe. Romello Height already took an edge. We did not take a wide receiver yet. If you go offense, wide receiver, see, you heard, yeah, I'm with you, but best player available here. And look at the wideouts. I mean, we heard Rick Serritella talk about Deshaun Stribling a little bit. Kevin Coleman, I watched him play last year. Malachi Fields, Kendrick Law, Malik Benson. I mean, you're kind of down at I don't want to call it pick of the litter. They're not picking the litter yet, but you're kind of talking about, shots in the dark. You're looking for traits here. You're looking for potential high upside, Let me go back to all and see what else is left here. Justin Jolly already took a safety, or excuse me, a tight end. Any safeties sitting? I might go Wheatley here. How about offensive lineman? See, this is where the draft guys get tough, man. Parker Brailsford. How about a center? How about a center? Parker, Duke, Brian Parker. Wide receivers just don't look good at this spot. Don't worry about position. BPA. Which Parker do you like? We got two of them here. We got Parker Brailsford. Damn, we need a safety. We didn't land a safety. Where's our next pick? 114. Can we get Wheatley at 114, you think? Can we get Wheatley at 114? I mean, if you're going best player available, if this board is anywhere close to correct, you're going Parker Brailsford. Bob likes. I'm going to go Bob's here. I'll take Brian Parker here. Let's go Brian Parker. Is Wheatley now available or did he go? All right, boom. Wheatley at 114. All right, 137 here, still in round 4. Now you're kind of in the territory of take the best player available, maximize for traits, maximize for upside. So you look at Malik Benson from Oregon. All right, 6'1", 195. Began his career at JUCO, totaling 97 catches, 2,100 yards. 120 to 248. Oof. Projected round 6. That's a reach in round 4. Is Stribling there? Stribling is gone, I believe. Oh, he's there. He's there. He's there. Devin Moore, Malik Ben. How about Malachi Fields? Wow, look at that. 6'4". Huge, obviously. Dual threat quarterback in high school. Bob, are you talking about Overton, the Bama kid? Yeah, I like LT Overton. I actually think he's a little underrated here. Now, I know we took Cassius Howell, but I kind of like Overton there over the offensive guys. We already got 2 linemen. We got a tight end. We did not land a wide receiver here. We got 2 offensive linemen, an edge rusher, a safety, a tight end. No wide receivers here. I kind of like the LT Overton. Any quarterbacks here? Ooh, Taylon Green or Drew Aller? Carson Beck? Where's our next pick? I think we go Drew Aller at 153. We need a wideout, folks. We need a wideout here. If this is how the board falls for the Eagles, I mean, they're not there. You ain't getting rid of A.J. Brown. Who's the guy that's Stribling? Let's look at Stribling. 6'2". Look at that range. 36. That's a high range. Projected round 5. Rising up the board a little bit. Testing and comps. Yeah, he's got good traits. Small arm length. Nobody cares about that. 4.36 is fucking crazy good. There's Ted Hurst for those who like Ted Hurst. Yeah, Ted Hurst. I see why people like Ted Hurst. I'm kind of in Bob's camp, though. I think you load up D-line here. Let's go with Overton. Let's see who's there. Now we're at what are we at? 153 here. Kalen Green went. Is a quarterback there? We could go Drew Aller here. Let's go Stribling here. Let's go Stribling here. Let's go Drew Aller here. 197. I'm taking a shot on an offensive lineman. Jeremiah Wright, 6'4", 340. Guard prospect. I like it. I like guard depth. I don't know much about that player. I'd be lying if I said I did. Oh, Billy, the Notre Dame guard. When in doubt, folks, go Notre Dame. Give me the Notre Dame guard at pick 197, Billy Schroth, or whatever the hell his name is. I kind of like our draft. Folks. Oh, we got a B? Yo, Ian Cummings. Come on, Ian. What do you guys think? Blake Miller, Oscar Delp, Cassius Howell, Brian Parker, Zakee Wheatley, LT Overton, Deshaun Stribling, Drew Aller, and Billy Schroth. What do you think? Yo, Howie, I'm coming for your job, Howie. What do you think, folks? What do you think? I like that draft too. I don't hate it. You get your tackle, you get your tight end, you add up on it a double dip at edge rusher, no wide receiver until late. Double dip on the O-line, double dip on the D-line. That's that trench life, folks. The trenches, baby. When in doubt, we go trenches. When in doubt, we go trenches. We got triple dip on the O-line. We got Billy, too. There's your look at the first round. Giants get David. They're not taking David Bailey. This is why I hate these things. Now, why would the Giants take another edge rusher? I agree. Keith, I'm kind of with you. Yo, Yeppa. Yeah, Yeppa. Come on, man. Reed Parker's right up. Here we go, Bob. Brian Parker's a compelling mid-round offensive line prospect in the 26th NFL draft who closely follows his fellow alumnus Graham Barton as a potential interior offensive line convert at the tackle position. Parker actually played center in high school before switching out to tackle with the Blue Devils, where he's mainly played right tackle over left. At 6'5", 300 pounds, Parker has a densely built frame with impressive overall mass and good proportions. While he's not close to the athlete that Barton is, Parker still has enough functional athleticism to get out of his stance, reach landmarks. Guys, is that not a freaking Ian Cummings write-up right there? That's Ian Cummings wrote that. I know he did. I know he wrote that. Good write-up. 6'5", short arm length. That's fine. I like it, Bob. Good pick. I like it. I'll take that. KCA says he loves pick 16. Jeremiah Love? What, to the Cowboys? Look at the traits. Let's go traits. Oh, yeah. Physicality's big, obviously. Blue chip physicality and power. Look at it. Guys, that's what we like. Physical offensive lineman. Bob, great pick. Fucking Bobby Brown delivers the goods. Hey, Howie! Roseman. You need some help? Call up Bobby Brown. Bob, good to see you in here. They didn't like our Overton pick, Bob. They gave us a C. I like it. Blend of an edge and a defensive lineman. I like that. And he's also not a shrimp. 6'3", 278. Come on, man. They're wrong. I like it, Bob. I like the confidence. I like the confidence. All right, let's do one more. Eagles, let's use the consensus. We'll go 7 rounds. All right, here we go. Let's use the consensus board. All right, we're going to reject the trades. All right, now we got Kenyon Sadiq, Keldrick Falk, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren for those who want a safety, Caden McDonald, Peter Woods, Denzel Boston, Blake Miller's still there, Max Ionacor is still there. Oh, Vega. How is Vega still there? Done. I'm not thinking further than that. Vega. Done, folks. 54. All right, here we go. Ugh. Now we need a tight end. We need a wide out. Jeremy Bernard's there. AJ Halsu, we already are good on. No, we got guard. We got Vega. That's who we're looking at right now. So if you go guard in round 1, you need a tight end. You need a safety. You need wide receivers. I think you need a tackle too. I double dip. If I took Vega in round 1, I would have no problem with them double dipping. Caleb Tiernan, 6'7", 325. This big fella with a big RAS score. He's got a big blue chip physicality, elite power and awareness. Oh my! Give me Caleb Tiernan, the 6'7" big fella out of Northwestern. Oh my! Who else we got? Traded Stukes. I like Tiernan. Where are we at on tight end? Delp is still there. Let's go Delp later. We don't need to take a tight end here. I don't think we need to take a tight end here. Wide receiver, can we sit pretty and look for Hurst at 68? Can we sit pretty and wait for Hurst at 68? Can we wait for Hurst at 68? Give me the big fella, Caleb Tiernan. Give me the big fella. A double dip on the that's my dream this draft. Double dip on the offensive line. We got Vega at 23. I think the consensus board was worse than Ian's. Give me Caleb. Give me Caleb Tiernan. Reject. Who was taken? Jeremy went. Bryce Lance went. Eli Stowers, Josiah Trotter. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Give me Ted Hurst in round 3. Now we need a tight end, folks. Stribling went earlier here. Michael Trigg. Did Oscar Delp already go? Nope. Give me that. Give me Oscar Delp out of Georgia. Oh, my. I'm fucking crushing this draft right now. All right, we got 2 offensive linemen, wide receiver, tight end. We need some edge rusher help. We need some edge help. Edge and safety. Romello Height, baby. 6'3", 240. Oh, small. Small. Blue chip agility and twitch is not what I want your blue chip to be. Blue chip explosiveness, blue chip bend. I wish there was more power. I don't like these guys who are all agility and explosiveness, dude. You got to tackle like a Lane Johnson, for example, or Jordan Mailata. They throw you on your fucking keister. They throw you on your keister. Who else we got here? Jay Sean Barman, 6'3", 240, same thing, dude. Dalen Everett, LT Overton. See, if we don't get defense early, you might be dealing with the dregs. I like our draft though. We got offensive linemen. That's all I freaking wanted. All right, we got wide receiver, tight end, and 2 offensive line. We need defense, folks. How's Dalen Everett? 6'1", 190 out of Norfolk, Virginia. Can he project inside or to safety at all? I guess I'll go with the edge. We'll go Romello height. I don't love it there. Oh, Nick Singleton. I like that. Isaiah World. Parker Brailsford. We need a safety, though, folks. Any of these guys you guys like? Anybody know anything about these safeties? Michael Taffe. Traits. Blue chip hip fluidity. That's freaking Ian Cummings written all over it. Processing. I like processing for Vic Fangio. Uh-oh. Is that a white guy? Are they keeping the exciting whites going by replacing Reed Blankenship with a Michael Taffe? Oh, baby. Are the exciting whites remaining in the city of brotherly love? Let's take Michael Taffe, folks. How's VJ Payne? Let me look at Payne first. 6'3", 212. I like that. Bigger size there. Elite explosiveness. See, I like the traits here on processing. I like that. Texas guy, right? Played with Andrew Makuba. All right, we're reaching for a safety. I'll take Taffe. Continue the exciting whites. All right, now we're at 53. All right, who we got? Now we're just taking our pick of the litter here. Quarterback, any quarterback left? 6'3", Cole Payton. This is a guy Rick Serritella liked a lot. I want a processor. Whoa. Decision-making, pocket management, and processing. No. I don't want a guy, no. Taylon Green, 6'6", 230. This dude is a freaking huge. Arm elasticity. Another Ian Cummings trait. More shitty processing. No, I don't want a quarterback that can't process in the late rounds. Oh, my God. Oh, my gosh. I don't want one. Let me go to a running back here. Kalen Black, 5'10", 210. That's right. That's right. This is the Indiana kid. 25, spotty injury history. Elite north to south explosiveness. How about wide receiver? How about another O lineman? Not liking my board here. Let's go Zane Durant. Zane Durant, 6'1", 287. What do we got here? Remember, Moro Jomo was probably leaving, so good power, elite explosiveness, good agility and twitch. What's his weaknesses? Hand usage and size score. I'm fine with that. Let's go Zane Durant here, assuming Moro Jomo is gone in a year. Let's go Zane Durant. We got 2 picks left, 178 and 197. We got Billy is still on the board. Any quarterbacks sitting there? Cade Klubnik? Nah, I'm out on you, dude. I don't like any of these quarterbacks, dude. Like any of these quarterbacks. Give me Billy. Let me load up the trenches. Give me Billy and give me a shot on a wide out. 5'8". I see you guys talking about the traits of one Diana Orsini. How about a corner? 6'1", 195. High upside cornerback prospect. I like it. Give me him. All right, there you go. C+. That's bullshit. That is bullshit. C+. What, according to who? According to who? I got Vega, Tiernan, Hurst, Delp, Romello Height, Michael Tafe. The exciting whites are back. Zane Durant, Billy Schroeth, and Thaddeus Dixon. Come on, man. That's a trench-heavy draft. Fucking A. All right, it is what it is. It is what it is, what it is. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I get more comments when I just bitch at people. I get more comments when I bitch at people than when I do mock draft. I get more comments when I bitch at people. They want you to pick a quarterback to replace Hurts. I didn't pick one. The quarterbacks aren't, they're not. Hand usage isn't a weakness for Diana Rossini. Paul is no Diddy. You like that, Tony? My brother got me, and he was at the Masters last year. I would have drafted a running back. Well, Jeff Bone, then you can draft a running back. Fucking A, dude. If we managed to get J Love, I'd shit a brick. See, Rice, that just shows you your delusion. You don't even care about any objectivity in any realm of any endeavor in your life. None. Jeremiah Love. We're paying Saquon Barkley $21 million. You smoking. Now you want a first-round running back? Dude, The offensive line's about to be depleted. Fucking Reyes. Gotta put up with this guy's shit every day. Unbelievable. All right, I'm out of here. Is J-Mac in love with Dirty D? Honestly, Sig, he might be. I don't want to slander J-Mac here on a Football Friday. Hard for me to agree with some of his takes. J-Love. Look at it. He's got it. J-Love. Shut up, Reyes. All right, I'm out of here, guys. You guys are boring on this mock draft Friday. Keith, at least I extended the exciting whites, right, dude? Look at this dude. That dude literally looks like you could tell me that guy was Reed Blankenship, and I wouldn't know the difference. Look at that dude. Look at this freaking dude. I mean, is that Reed Blankenship? Did they sub in the wrong picture? Did they sub in the wrong picture? That's Reed. I'm telling you, that's freaking Reed. I mean, that's freaking Reed. That's him. That's Reed. That's Reed Blank right there, man. It's freaking Reedy boy. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Let's talk about cars. Tony, I'll talk about cars. Tony, what'd you think of my reel on my wheels? What'd you think of my reel on the wheels? Tony, I know you're a black wheel guy. You're like my brother. Every time I call my brother, he's like, you get the black wheels. I'm like, all right. Tony, you're bored. You know, Tony, for a guy that buys a purple Corvette with orange interior, you'd think you'd have a little more spice, Tony. Get the black wheels. Black wheels. And everybody has black wheels. The latest RAV4 that just sold has black wheels. Keith has black wheels on his Toyota Corolla. Black is basic, Reyes. Gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. You guys want to see the pictures? Here, let's compare. All right, this is the black wheels. Now, I made this image with AI. So this is my car with the black wheels on it. All right. You can see. They look good. Is there a lick of detail? Can I see any detail on these wheels? No, I can't. Okay. Now, we got the silvers. Oh! Oh! Look at that. Dude, that is nice. That is exotic. Woo! Come on, man. Are you guys kidding me? Am I tripping? I'm not tripping. I'm not tripping. No, I'm not tripping. You know who's probably tripping? It's probably M. Reyes. Get some black. What do you mean black? No, BGG. You don't put color. You don't just get black wheels and then just, paint one part of it red? BGG, what are you smoking? Z's Michael Jackson scream, Reyes, you love it. Are you painting your calipers? Tony, it depends what color wheel I get. Yeah, slate roof on the home. Yes, sir. No doubt. No doubt. I don't know, guys. I'm leaning silver at this point. I got to make a call after this, so. Z, put a JAKIB wrap? Nah, I wouldn't go JAKIB wrap. I'd maybe go Krause digital wrap, my holding. Yeah, if I'm doing silver wheels, I'm definitely staying with the black calipers. Brass wheels? I looked. I also looked at like bronze. I guess that's what you mean when you say brass. Here, you want to see what I got? I didn't get them, but I looked. Where is this? I thought I had a picture on here of the. Let me find it. I'm pretty sure I do. Here. Here. There you go. There's brass. There you go. Nah, I wouldn't even go satin black. I'd go gloss. I need to go gloss. Match my car too good. I like it for like a second, and then I'm like, eh. Yeah, I don't know. I prefer silver too. I'm with Sig Lord. I think the silver looks the best. There's the black. Just it looks good. The black looks good. It just there's no detail. I can't see the detail. It's just a man. It's just all right. It's just there. There's no intricacy to it. There's no chrome. You think I should go chrome? I'd go chrome. If it ain't chrome, go home, baby. Chrome C8. Oh, they got these in chrome. No, they don't have these wheels in chrome. I'd have to get something different. Ooh, I could do the HF5s in chrome. Ooh. All right, I'm gonna make an image real quick of the chrome. I gotta see the chrome. Let me do this. Gemini, I'm gonna make an image here with the chrome. All right. Let me put the same image. Put these chrome wheels on my car so I can see what they look like. Well, I can't get the HF7s in chrome, but I can get the HF5s, which I also like. HF5 finish. Fuck, are they not showing me the chrome on the website? All right, here we go. Let's see what this thing looks like. It's AI. The wheels are AI. I put the wheels on the car that are using AI. All right, Sig. I mean, really, Sig? You guys got to go diddler on me always? And the chrome looks like the silver. I don't think it really captured the chrome as well as it was supposed to. Here we go. It's coming in a second. Yeah, some red would be rad, dude. All right, here's chrome. There's chrome. There's the chrome dome. Chrome's, I like the silver better. I need some opinions on this because I am so torn on this. Silver's better. I like the silver more. There's the black. There's Mr. Reed Blankenship. There's Charles O'Menahu. Black, chrome. And then silver. Dude, the silvers are the best. Y'all are tripping. Y'all are tripping. The silver's the best. Black with chrome or silver cut. And do one with Reed in the tires. All right, fucking A, man. All right, I'm out of here. Black with what does Michael say? Michael said what? Black with chrome or silver cut. Okay, I see what you mean. Something like this. I'm making it for you. Let me see. Something like this. This is actually kind of hot. I can't lie. This is actually kind of hot. Let me get this. I'll get this one up here. Let me see these black with silver on them. Silver cut. Come on, Gemini. Make the image. Come on, Gemini. Matte black. I'm definitely not doing matte black. Everybody like that. What is the infatuation with matte black? Matte black, so sick. It's like, it's okay. That's not bad. Here we go. I got the black with silver cut. Not bad, Michael. My problem is I don't love two-tone wheels. I have two-tone right now. That's the stock. Look. This is the crappy stock wheel. What the heck? Wait, I'll show you the stock in a second. Why is it now couldn't download? Come on, Gemini. No. Didn't fucking work. Piece of shit, Gemini. Ugh. I teased them. Now I got to show them. Zandy two-tone. What? White wheels? Jerry, what the heck? How can I do white wheels? That would look crazy. I couldn't do that. That wouldn't look good. Yeah, I guess some people do it. Nah, that's not my cup of tea right there, dude. That's not my cup of tea. I can't do it. Sorry, Jerry. I'm looking at pictures now. People do it. Not for me. Not for me. All right, let me find this Gemini. All right, come on, download. Black with silver cut's nice. Shit, Michael Roden might have delivered a haymaker. A shot in the dark. If Gemini ever works, I'll show you it. Piece of shit. Here we go. Incoming. Incoming. Boom. That's not bad. That's not bad. That ain't bad. Sauce it up. Thanks for the super. Sauce it up. Happy Friday, fellas. Bird Gang, you're right. I ripped you to smithereens, and now I'm saying I like them. That's hilarious. I ripped you to smithereens, Bird Gang girl. That color look exactly. That's what I think. That's what I think, Sig. I don't think I can pull the trigger on these. Wheels are a pretty significant investment, so I gotta love them. Damn, I love the C8. I fucking think it's beautiful. Those are Honda Accord wheels. See, Sig, I think me and you are thinking the same thing about these wheels. I think me and Sig are on the same page. Rest of you guys are cheeseheads. Rest of you guys are cheeseheads, including you, Bird Gang girl. You cheesehead. That is pretty sharp. I can't lie. I think that's pretty sharp. Damn, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. We'll see. We'll see what I do. I'll reveal it on the ZK's Garage channel. If you're not subscribed over there, you're a bed bug. Like Snuff would say. You're a bed bug. All right, guys. Thanks for being here today. Enjoy your weekend. I hope you all have a great weekend. Hopefully, do we get good weather? Is Masters weekend? Any good weather out of here or what? Any good weather? 64 and sunny tomorrow. I can live with that. I can live with that. All right. All right, guys. Appreciate you. Hit that like button. See you next time, everybody.
EAGLES. Eagles.